different, and I love it, man, because it got me thinking. It got me thinking like I was back at school again. I don't even know where you come up with these questions. I want to know how you do these. You're so innovative. I'm like, look. I mean, your mind is, like you say, you're a history teacher, and your mind is going all over the place.
And it's also wonderful to hear people talk sanely to each other today.
Yeah, I've done everything. I've done, in the 80s, I did Johnny Carson. I did Merv Griffin. I did it all. You're sheer 9 or 10. You're probably 9.5.
Oh.
10 is, no one's perfect.
You have something amazing going with the show, and you're educating us.
I mean, I've never told anybody in public about that experience with my dad. And on your platform, I don't know why I did that, because it's so comfortable and we're talking about things that matter.
I love the little anecdote of comedy with your would you pay for it? Would you not? I love that. I love how you added that in.
We want to know each other. We want to know people's stories. That's what TKN does.
First name Michaela, last name Skinner. Welcome, my friend, to round 2 of the tournament.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine. Absolutely.
Yeah, this was seriously such a blast. I was so excited to come on here, and yeah, it's been incredible.
Last name Ferrigno, first name Lou. Lou, welcome, my friend.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator.
So put your hand together for a majestic, out of this world, one-of-a-kind human being. First name Vivica, last name Fox. Welcome, my friend.
Whoa, that was an awesome introduction. Let me tell you that. I don't think I've ever had anyone read my resume with such flow.
Avi is a poet, but he doesn't know it, but his feet show it. You're unbelievable.
Last name Wilkins, first name Lenny. Lenny, welcome, my friend. The celebrity tournament.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to this. It should be fun.
Damn. You said it just like I wrote it.
You gave me good eargasm tonight, man. I love your voice. I love the things that you talk about.
Well, you're the best I've seen. You're the Michael Jordan or LeBron James, whoever you want to make the GOAT.
This is why your audiences love you. This is why you continue to great guests, and great guests beget great guests.
One of my friends was share about the Tip O'Neill, the Speaker of the House, and what a smooth voice he had. Your voice and the way you project everything and share with your heart and soul. You got an incredible gift.
I just want to do this again and again. I feel like I've made friends. And again, I've taken the competition part of it out because I've just enjoyed talking to you guys tonight.
Oh man, most definitely. This is, I think my top. I think because the intro you gave me, I gotta give it to you. I like.
You deserve it.
It really, truly, kind of blows my mind every time when we can get this many people together, thinking, mind melding, positive, not having to agree all the time with everything. But not getting ugly about it, and not, it's just I feel like it's a microcosm of what it could be.
Did you have a nice time tonight in the green room?
I had a great time. I can't tell you how refreshing it is that somebody knows what they're doing.
You're a very interesting person. I mean, you with all this rhyming stuff, you must really put a lot of effort into this, and I would love to read or see something that you've written.
Thank you.
Because I'm sure it's really interesting.
Or not podcast. I guess it's like we're just a show now. You're a show. You're a full-blown show.
I can count my friends on one hand. Well, wait, on one finger. You.
Oh man, thank you so much, my friend. You are awesome. Don't even hang your hats on the past, because if you don't heal from what hurts you, you'll bleed on people that never even cut you to begin with. It has nothing to do with your pain.
All right.
So,
Tell him, Robbie. Tell him.
You guys are bringing the best out of me. That is the truth. Guys, Chris, did you have a good time? You've done a lot of interviews. Is this kind of up there for you?
Yeah. I had a great time today, Avi. I mean, because you are engaged in what is a conversation and not a performance.
Stars remind us of where we've been. They need not dictate where we're going. And I think in a way that kind of addresses this question. So in other words, I think it is almost inevitable. There's going to be pain, there's going to be scarring, there's going to be all kinds of this that's going to happen over the course of a life.
Sit at the kitchen table looking out the window for quite a period of time while the food was getting prepared, and I wish I took that time to sit down with her and ask her questions about her being a child.
This thing has drawn me out of myself and thereby drawn me into myself. But I learned a lot, and from you, I always learn something from you.
Work as hard as you can, because by working, Avi, you will keep yourself busy and get used to the grief.
Another trio of questions, now more underrated. We have Billy D. Williams, Italian men named Skippy, or unicycle.
I'm sorry, Italian men named Skippy. Put me away, Avi.
Archie Bunker, the mountain climber, Ralph Cramden, the yoga instructor, or Don Corleone, the computer repair person.
It's clearly an issue with the hard drive.
Oh, I like that.
I'm going to go Don Corleone.
I'm going to Christmas. Is it because it does create those amazing memories that I've, and Sarge, I know you've been there too, because I've seen you at so many different great events for Muscular Dystrophy Association.
There are those of us who like to venture to the unexplored, to see the beauty in the strange and unknown. Those of us who go out there with a sense of wonder.
God, it matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged in the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
There is nothing that was on TV tonight that even remotely rivals what we did on this broadcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Barry, a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame and one of the NBA's top 50 players. And I'm really excited to tell you about my new relationship in the broadcasting world with the new network.
It's TKN, and a young man named Avi Klein has poured his blood, sweat, and tears into creating this new network and assembling an amazing group of individuals.
Legends from every walk of life who are just bringing their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom and This is amazing. I feel like this is a cosmic convergence of what is most important to him, and he's such a stand-up guy.
Avi, congratulations. I don't know anybody that can talk as much as you. Seriously, I thought I could talk. You are unreal. What you do it with class, understanding, professionalism. You're simply amazing. I told you that when I first met you. And you ran off my autobiography. It basically was a book. It was simply fantastic. And to think that you do that every show.
Very respectful. And he really connects with the artists and his audiences. And I felt like this guy's on to something. And I'm proud to be a part of this with him.
And I really thank your support. I lost my father, and you were the first person to support me in all that, and I thank you so much for that. It meant a lot to me.
The greatest wealth is when you can share it with someone. You can share your victories, you can share your failure, you can express your deepest feelings, but the greatest wealth is to be able to say that I have a friend. And I feel an unbelievable level of wealth. And a lot of that is because I have somebody like you.
You here to win the whole darn tournament?
I don't play. I just win.
Robert, would you like to win this entire tournament?
You know, all those luminaries and athletes and strongmen notwithstanding, the most dangerous place on this show is between me and that prize. That's all I'm going to say.
You're chomping at the bit to get in this thing.
Oh yeah, man. I've been telling you, brother. You brought up some names to me, and I was like, I can't wait. I hope they don't see me, because it's gonna be on like a steaming pot of neck bones, baby. And I'm not playing.
Are you here to win the entire thing, my friend?
I'll just say this, Abby. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
But are you here to win the entire celebrity tournament when it's all said and done?
I saw a very familiar face in Mike Rotundo, better known as IRS, and he said that he was here for the winner chicken dinner, and I want to take away that chicken dinner, so yes, I want to win this whole shebang.
And tell it, last name Smith, first name Joe Smith, welcome my friend.
Oh my God, Avi. Where did you get all of that from? Oh my God.
Guys and gals and pals, a long time ago, a mentor named Richard Donner told me, lead with love and you can never go wrong. And I concur. Yes, it's easier said than done sometimes, but maybe, just maybe, we're not going to change the world with the new network, but maybe we can invite more people outside of that door here so we can have philosophical fun while providing you with endless edutainment. And thank you guys and gals and pals for sticking around, because 5.1 million views in about 20 months. We appreciate that. And now Amazon Prime, 6 episodes after 4.5 years, picking up 6 episodes. I'll gladly take that. And I'm glad that some of the old suits and ties who once said nobody's going to watch a program that is filled with competitive camaraderie. I said, I beg to differ. And here we are. This is a place where strangers leave as friends, and we're captivated by conversation. I have the best seat in the house, and so do you, because we get to listen. And that's how we learn, and that's how we love. I love being able to do this, guys and gals and pals, and I am so excited to be sitting with 2 friends, and also, if I can embarrass them, men who always provide sage advice, mentors, people who have been so graceful and gracious with their time, and we're going to be getting to get to know the person behind the persona here in a way that I think is flattering, not just to the spirit, to the soul, but to our intellect as well. We will never dumb it down over here. And we appreciate that you guys and gals and pals can understand that tonight's topic, the Bard himself, Mr. Shakespeare, is fun. It's a lot of fun. Again, if any of you want to attend my free workshop, please feel free. There is a lot of work that we explore, contemporary and classic. And of course, the Bard is featured heavily in the workshops. We're just teaching a class about iambic pentameter, actually. That'll be fun. If you want to join in for free, let me know. But guys and gals and pals, I'm going to zip the old lip right now, and I'm going to show you some video packages, very brief packages I put together for Mr. Bruce Davison and Mr. Dakin Matthews, who are gracing us with their time. So guys and gals and pals, Not many wandering this vast landscape know that to see doesn't necessarily require the use of eyeballs. Do you imagine being able to make visible what appears to be invisible? Well, the following guest does not, guys and gals, lead with blindness, but he is someone that does not need eyes to see. That's because he's taken a blank canvas and filled it with beautiful works of art that go several orders of magnitude deep. Guys and gals and pals, this is the one and only Bruce Davison.
And I feel very lucky over the years to have been given a chance to pretend to be some pretty interesting characters.
He was a legend even then, and quite a legend. I became an actor in the theater, and that's all I looked forward to. I didn't think about being a star, just being allowed to act. I would have been perfectly happy, I'm sure, to live the rest of my life as an actor in repertory companies.
You are not only ready, you can hardly wait. I mean, you're like, they're holding you back, I want to go. And that curtain goes up and you begin at the beginning and you go to the end, and not the fact that the audience is there responding, it's that you're doing it to it not. And when you finish, you feel that you created something.
Guys and gals and pals, that is Mr. Bruce Davison. I cannot wait to bring him in. He grew up in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania before moving to Broomall. He reminds us that we will always rise even after the fall. His father came back from World War II with what is now known as PTSD. We thank him for his service. The first car he owned was a 56 Chevrolet Bel Air, copper and blonde, and man, I would have been kind of nervous. Speaking of nerves, how about getting chased by a shotgun-wielding John DuPont simply due to looking at his horses? I can imagine John screaming while making a fist. In high school, this incredibly luminary had a dream to become a marine biologist. Initially at Penn State, he wanted to be an art major and soon thereafter took a theater appreciation course. We are grateful for this because his honest works of truth make him quite the artistic force. NYU, at what became the School of Arts in the mid-'60s with Barry Bostwick, Michael McKean, and Larry Pine. Do you know who would soak up his wealth of knowledge any day of the week? Yours truly, Avi Klein. When I think of one of the most emotionally affecting scenes of loss in any film, I think of Longtime Companion, as this wonderful storyteller received an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe award. His body of work is never ignored, so click record. When watching his work, as he always soared and left us floored because he always explored. He's also a two-time Emmy Award nominee and has starred and co-starred with some of the all-time greats. I recall A Family Vacation, seeing him on stage in The Normal Heart opposite Dreyfuss and Kathy Bates. Hollywood could use less instead of more of everything. Those words are as powerful as an uppercut delivered by Zeus. So please greet a kind, talented, humble, generous human being. Last name Davison. First name Bruce. Welcome, my friend.
Avi, I've always wanted to ask you, are you quintuplets? I mean, who does all this work? This is incredible. You're a walking computer. I would say Encyclopedia Britannica, but that would certainly date me.
First off, thank you so much. I always tell everyone the sweat is the sweet. I love the work, but it's so easy because I could keep going with it with your resume, of course, and your body of works. And then there's another portion that spotlights your humanity. So I could have been going on for 2-3 hours if I wanted to. You've given so much of yourself, Bruce. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Avi. That is very heartfelt, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for this great assignment you've given us today, too. It's taken me to places I hadn't really known or thought about.
I cannot wait to explore that and unpack that, my friend. We shall do that momentarily. I can't wait to bring Dakin in as well. But Bruce, any message for anybody? I usually close a show with this question, but maybe to open things up, a lot of people, we're not going to get knee deep into anything specific, but any words of encouragement for our audience who might be feeling glum or blue, my friend?
You know, my father, like you said, was a lieutenant commander in the Navy in World War II.
Sure.
And he had a sea chest that he made himself. And after he died, I found something in it that was something that he carried around in his wallet.
Sure.
And it was a little cutout that he had. And I want to read it to you. Could I do that? Because I had it.
Absolutely.
It said, resolved, no one will ever get out of this world alive. Resolve, therefore, to maintain a reasonable set of values. Take care of yourself. Good health is everyone's major source of wealth. And without it, happiness can be almost impossible. Resolve to be cheerful and helpful. People will repay you in kind. Avoid angry, abrasive persons. They're generally vengeful. Avoid zealots. They are generally humorless. Resolve to listen more and talk less. No one ever learns anything talking. Wow. Be careful with giving advice. Wise men don't need it and fools won't heed it. Resolve to be tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving and tolerant of the weak and the wrong. Sometimes in your life you will have been all of these. Do not equate money with success. There are many successful moneymakers that are miserable failures as human beings. What counts most about success is how a person achieves it.
That is
anyway,
that is beautiful. Bruce, can I ask you a question, my friend?
Yeah.
When did you first hear this or receive it as a, was this a gift that was, yeah.
Well, my father died when I was young, in my 30s. He was an alcoholic his whole life. He came back from the war, and nobody really knew what happened. He wouldn't talk about it. He said, but I was in mid-30s when I got his trunk left to me. But he would wake up and saying, they're going to tip over. They're going to tip over. And I never knew what happened. We all sort of laughed at that. But during the war, he was head of landing crafts that hit Omaha Beach. And when they hit that massacre that happened on the beach, the first boats were turning around and screwing up the whole entrance and the whole landing. And it was total chaos. And he was ordered by his captain to fire on his own troops.
My gosh.
And then as a young man, just out of his teens, he was second in command of this ship. And they brought the wounded on board. And
oh, my gosh.
It shattered him. I don't think he, of course, he never recovered. And suddenly, I didn't find out about this until his funeral. And my uncle, his brother, his older brother, told me the story. He said he never told that to anybody. None of them who came back ever did.
I feel like the story of fathers and sons is a story that's never resolved.
Yeah.
It's never resolved. Wow, that's so. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's personal.
Well, thank you for letting me.
Oh, absolutely. And I that's amazing advice. I was thinking of. I remember telling my friend the other day. He said, "Can you find some way, some tagline?" He hired me to write a tagline, some tagline to describe how the superficial nature of the world is not all that important to us as artists. I said, maybe what we earn is what we learn. Maybe if we do something in order to achieve without the promise of the name of the marquee, so to speak, maybe there's something pure, innocent, and missing today in that, I feel. So thank you. Thank you again for sharing that, my friend. I will bring you Bruce momentarily, as I will bring in Mr. Dakin Matthews now, and we will be off to the races, my friend. Thank you so much. Bruce Davison, thank you again, my friend. Your body of work speaks for itself, but a legendary human being with a great giving soul, and I appreciate our friendship so very much. Guys and gals and pals who are watching here on this Saturday night, I appreciate our next guest as well, who has been here almost since day number one when we launched this thing years ago, and he also has become a friend who I respect so greatly. To work at the extreme edge of your experience as an elder can be wonderful. It's something I am looking very forward to. I can honestly tell you that this man has taught me so much while we record, while we've gone live in front of you. I sit there and I soak it all in. Guys and gals, confidence is preparation. Everything else might be beyond your control, but failing to prepare is indeed preparing to fail. Success is where preparation and opportunity meet. The following guest has consistently taken a blank canvas, guys and gals and pals, and given us such great works of art that are honest and truthful. His range and depth are quite vast, and his outlook, as always, is rather refreshing.
well-trained actors, and a great ensemble. But an ensemble that had a shared aesthetic, if you will, that had a shared sense of what theater was, of how to play the classics, a sense of style. We want other actors to have the experience we had. We want to keep a tradition of classical acting alive in this country.
Because great ambition and conquest without contribution is without significance. Giants of history, men of profound character, men whose accomplishments surpass their own lifetime and survive even into our own. Their story is our story.
Guys and gals and pals, I cannot wait to bring in a friend. But before I do that, I want to let you guys know that if you listen to some of those words and those great sentiments from Kevin Klein, it is refreshing to be able to create art of yesteryear today. So don't give up on the past. Guys, my heart yearns for what is now in the present right here before us. Of course, my incredible guest is here as well, so no need to make a fuss. He's a man that inspires and educates just about everywhere, including this very show. Absorbing his gems of knowledge is how we grow, like the heart of the ever-smitten Romeo. Yes, most of Romeo and Juliet was written in verse, but it was based on an Italian story. That is one example of how we have gone down the rabbit hole and discussed the bard in all his glory. He never intended to become a performer. Most aren't privy to this little-known fact. I'm glad that he changed his mind, as his work is nuanced, well-rounded, and his resume is packed. As a youngster, he was influenced by Peter Hall's production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Judi Dench, Brian Murray, and Ian Holm were in it. That is quite the team. He has 5 decades under his belt as a storyteller, director, playwright, and theatrical scholar. He's played Winston Churchill, King Lear, Falstaff. Can we all holler? Knowing fully well that these productions were more valuable than the almighty dollar. His stage work and teaching of the craft are an absolute breath of fresh air. We will delve deep into one of my favorite topics, Shakespeare, which is fun, as we always handle it with care. Some of you might recall his film and TV works, such as Funny Farm, Clean and Sober, My Two Dads, and Child's Play 3. How about Murder, She Wrote, Gilmore Girls, King of Queens? Let these rhymes hopefully set you free. His professional Shakespearean credits include Macbeth. I said it, but hey, we're not in the theater right now. That's okay. Falstaff, King John, Richard III, just to name a few. Relax, everybody. My rhymes are near completion, and you all made it through. So sit back and absorb the following conversation and take it all in. Are we getting warmed up? You betcha. We're practically baked in. There's no mistake in. I'm excited to feel like grooving and break in. So give it up to my co-host, guys and gals of Masterclass, a kind, talented, humble mentor and human being. Last name Matthews. First name Dakin. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, grateful that you didn't mention the bacon. That's the normal rhyme.
How are you, my friend?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. My gosh, it's so much fun to have these conversations. I never asked you this, Dakin. Do you enjoy having these conversations virtually? If there's options, of course, we would rather be in an intimate setting where we can see each other, hold each other, embrace each other as humans. But to be able to do this here, can that be as impactful?
It can, but I really do relish, face to face in the same room, breathing the same air, because I'm like Bruce. I'm a theater guy, and that's the only place where you're sure you're not seeing a hologram.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's the only. I have hope for the future that of theater now, because pretty soon it'll be the only place where you're sure that it's human beings doing the work and not AI.
Well, oh my gosh, if that happens on stage, that would be insane. As it is as a screenwriter, it's happening, of course, on film and television across the board. I want to say this really quickly to those who have a lot of storytellers who are inspired by you and by, of course, Mr. Bruce Davison. Getting fooled into acting, because you're teaching school at Cal State Hayward. You had not studied in acting or done that much when you were in school, but then you'd done something extracurricular, I believe, in acting, and I believe you played Falstaff in college, and that really kind of set the tone, did it not?
Well, it was an extracurricular sort of thing that I always enjoyed doing, and it's always a great humane exercise to be in a play. I think people, I don't even undervalue high school plays. I think sometimes high school students learn more doing a play than they do in many of their classes. They learn discipline, they learn punctuality, they learn public speaking. If it's a play that has any sort of historical background, they learn a little bit about history, they learn about cooperation. And what Kevin said, they learn about ensemble. They learn about putting themselves at the service of a group rather than forcing a group to serve them. So
that's a very great way of putting it. I had a class that I recorded, a workshop that I taught probably a few months ago, and I was discussing. We were discussing all different categories. I think I was discussing the diphthong, and I remember one student cutting me off, saying, "Wait, I thought it's a family show." And afterwards, he was so nervous about iambic pentameter. He was so scared to delve into it. I played a game with him, and after about 20 minutes, he realized I'm doing this. But in the initial 20 minutes, he had no clue he was. Is that something that is as gratifying for you as a teacher, as a scholar, as someone who's helped so many learn this great craft of storytelling? Is the realization of a storyteller being able to do it as rewarding as you yourself doing it?
Yes. Well, first of all, whenever I teach, and I was a university professor for 25 years.
Yes, sir.
I taught in a couple of conservatories after I retired from university teaching, but I still teach 2 or 3 classes every year, almost always about Shakespeare. First of all, I always learn something new when I teach. So that's one of the beauties of teaching is you're trying to explain something to somebody or explore something to somebody, or someone brings you a problem that they can't solve and you didn't know was a problem, and in the effort of trying to solve it, you learn a lot more than the student ever did. That's one of the great rewards of teaching. But the other is, especially if you're teaching, which I do now, Shakespeare, getting people to realize that Shakespeare's verse and Shakespeare's language and Shakespeare's perception of human nature is not a hurdle to be overcome, but it's the pathway, to being more human in many ways. So I love the fact that people come in thinking they can't do Shakespeare.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, some of them surprise themselves that actually I can do this because it's just human beings trying to communicate. And that's what we all are trying to do, basically. And Shakespeare gives us an incredible channel of complex communication. And yet it's very real, very human. So.
And as we find out, even for those who like the graphic nature of language, Shakespeare's got plenty of it. So we know that as well, if people enjoy that part. But such a universal theme. I think about the corrupting nature of power today in 2025. Well, all I have to do is go back to Macbeth. All I have to do is go back to King Lear. If you think of the cost of division, you think of the family feud in Romeo and Juliet. You think of the frailty of love. Then you can think of the foolishness of young love in Midsummer Night's Dream. So it's all there. And I don't know if you agree with me or not, Dakin, about this, but when it comes to Shakespeare, and really only Shakespeare for me, I love to watch a lot of productions, get our hands on so many of that. But that's untrue of a lot of other things, because having our personal vision sometimes get tampered with might be a little bit destructive, at least for me as a writer. So with Shakespeare, I feel like the first thing we can do is we delve into the text. Of course, the great thing as actors is the subtext. What can we discover and locate the subtext? But then it's the problem solving, how our relationships and our themes and story are brought to life by different versions, so we can learn something different from each version of Shakespeare plays. Would you agree, Dakin?
Well, I love the theater. I love the performing arts, basically. As an artist, I always consider myself not so much a creator as an interpreter. So the idea that geniuses like Shakespeare and, Sophocles and Euripides and Shaw and Molière left their work half finished. They left the text, but that's not the art. The art is not the text. The art is the production.
Sure.
The artwork. And so they left their artwork half finished and invited companies that they wrote for then and all future companies or all future actors thereafter to share in the final moment of creation, so that it's like somebody and some great person inviting you to share a credit on something. We get to finish the work that Shakespeare started. It's as if Michelangelo got halfway through the David and gave me the chisel and said, "I'll finish. I'll help you, but you get to actually strike the blows, because the work isn't finished until you come in." So our job as actors is to bring our humanity so that the characters that existed only on the page become actually seemingly alive, you know? And what we have to bring, what Shakespeare wants us to bring, is our entire humanity to the job.
Yes.
Our bodies, certainly, but our psyches as well. And even those parts of the psyche that we may not be entirely conscious of, you know?
Absolutely. I think that maybe everyone has a different philosophy, but I believe that we don't become a character. I believe that we get to know the characters. We nurture them. They need us. They're like children, and we're responsible for making sure we raise them.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about how the work is left partially finished.
Yeah.
I guess you would agree with Leave You Chule, who used to say originality is just a sign of not enough information. So there's that. Mr. Dakin Matthews is with us. And guys, here's Mr. Bruce Davison as well. Thank you both for being here. This is fantastic. It really is.
Nice to be here.
Great to be here.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
I have to, Bruce and I have never actually worked together, I don't think. We've never been in the same project. Or maybe...
No, I loved what you said about the performances that one does in college and stuff. And I saw in that clip that you did Miss Alliance.
Yeah.
With, Shaw. And that was one of the first productions I ever did as a student at Penn State. I played Bentley, but I saw you as Lord Summerhays.
Summerhays, yeah. That was a great fun. That was itself.
Who had the wonderful line, my life, I was chained to Prometheus's rock when he was stuck in the business that he was in.
Well, the other thing that theater does, like us, we have our roots in repertory theater. I, like you, thought I would then, once I became a theater creep, or a theater aficionado, I thought I'd just be in repertory theater and in the regions, all my life. But one thing that's wonderful, and we just saw it, is that Bruce and I, even though we've never worked together, we've worked in the same plays. So we share a common vocabulary and a common experience, which is sometimes different from one another.
Right.
We can
right.
Yeah, it's like two people who read the same book and then can chat about it at a book club, but we've lived the same lives of fictional characters and we can talk about them.
I felt the same way when I found out from my ex-fiance that I couldn't cook ravioli, and I poured my heart and soul to my dad, and he said, "Neither could I, and your mom still tolerated me." So finding some common ground. No, I agree with that. And I want to say this before we kick it off to topic number one, because you're both talking to a younger demographic. Also, we have a bit of an older demographic, but to our youngsters out there, there is an amazing thing that I found to be impactful that Bruce Davison's grandmother had asked. Why is youth wasted on the young? I found that to be, and I think if I'm not mistaken, at the time at least, Bruce, your response was, "I'm young and it's not wasted on me." But then as you got older, you understood what she meant.
I think Bernard Shaw said the same thing.
Right.
Gosh almighty. Yeah, I love that. Now, Bruce, I have to ask you this. Is it somehow maybe a trick or maybe a higher power's last laugh that by the time we absorb all this wisdom and learn, and some of those who maybe provided that to us in yesteryear, they're no longer here anymore. We can't physically, at least, tell them, "Thank you for that sage advice that now resonates with me in the future so many years later."
Mm-hmm.
I feel slighted by that a little bit. Is that too powerful maybe perhaps? Are there moments where you feel that way?
Well, it's a trade-off. As we get older, we have the accumulation of our wisdom, if we're lucky. And it's very important that we have that. And that holds us and supports us. It's like the song, little, beautiful girl, walk a little slower when you walk by me, lingering sunset, stay a little longer before the day is done. We have the experience. I've lived such a wonderful life. I've been so gifted and so lucky. And it's really nice to be able to be in a position now to appreciate what I was in such a hurry to run away from when I was young.
Sure.
So
sure.
Also, Bruce and I are now finally have enough knowledge to be able to play Hamlet.
I know. I wish I could, doing Richard III, I wish I could go back and play Clarence again, because, the critic, I remember the word, he says, looks to be more at home around a college swimming pool than a butt of Malmsey.
Clarence is one of my first professional roles as a American.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. And guys, again, we're going to delve into the works of the Bard. And As always, I try to tell you guys, at least if this helps, if it doesn't, fine. But sometimes it's not about knowing things, it's about learning things. And I concur with what Dakin and Bruce said. We learn a lot more by listening. And remember something, even nonverbal communication, especially nonverbal communication when it comes to this amazing craft, words can lie, but the body will always tell the truth. So remember that. Right now, guys, as we delve into topic number 1, I will set it up for our audience. Of course, Mr. Dakin Matthews and Mr. Bruce Davison are privy to this topic. George, as we like to call him, Clarence, right? Duke of Clarence, was a character in Shakespeare's Richard III. He's known for his lines expressing fear and betrayal and ultimately his tragic fate. He is portrayed as a complex figure, initially naive and trusting of his brother Richard, but ultimately he's a victim of Richard. In this fun, hypothetical, and thought-provoking topic, we will channel our inner H.G. Wells, and we'll go back in time for those younger out there, the DeLorean and Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. Either way, we're going to go back in time. And right now, Dakin and Bruce have been assigned a particular task. We'll start with Dakin first. Dakin will be escorting the Duke of Clarence on a trip through time, and to be specific, the 19th century. And he's doing this, there has to be an objective, in the hopes of preparing the Duke for a potential rewrite, thus ensuring his survival, guys and gals and pals. So Dakin will be tasked with introducing him to 3 historical figures from the 19th century. Each of these figures are privy to the utter folly of it all, an altered fate that seems so distant unless our favorite George of Duke is willing to see what all of us already have. Each of these historical figures, guys and gals, each one of them will help George understand what he must do to survive in this rewrite of sorts. One of these historical figures will teach a class on awareness. The second of these historical figures will teach a class on misplaced trust. And finally, the third of these historical figures will teach a class on treachery. Mr. Dakin Matthews, take all the time in the world. Who are the 3 19th century historical figures that you've selected to help the Duke? And which of the above classes will you assign them to teach, and why? Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours, good sir.
Bet you don't expect. 3 of them, 2 of them are named Napoleon. One of them is named Talleyrand, and the 4th is called Stuart. So the Napoleons are, neither of them is the Napoleon you're thinking of. The first is Joseph Napoleon. The second is Lucien Napoleon. The third is Charles Talleyrand, who was the prime minister, Napoleon's foreign minister and prime minister for a very long time. And the 4th is Benedict Stuart, who is actually known as the younger brother of Bonnie Prince Charlie. He was the last living heir in the Stuart dynasty to the throne of England. When he was home, he used to call himself Henry IX, or he made his servants call him Henry IX, but he was actually a cardinal of the Catholic Church and lived in Rome most of his life. So these 4 people share certain characteristics with our friend George, Duke of Clarence. Joseph and Lucien were both members of a royal family, as George turned out to be. Lucien, in fact, flirted early in life with becoming a priest, but then left it instead to become something else, an academic. Benedict was also a member of a royal family. He was the last surviving Stuart, and he had an older brother who was Bonnie Prince Charlie. So these 3, all of them had to deal with someone who was, in fact, an autocrat in one way or another, and they were all family members of that autocrat, or that ruler. Lucien and Joseph of Napoleon himself, and Benedict Stuart, or what he was known as Cardinal York to most of his friends. He had to deal with his older brother, Bonnie Prince Charlie, and he had to deal with his cousin, the reigning King of England. Charles Talleyrand had to deal primarily with Napoleon and secondarily with Joseph Napoleon. I'm not sure which of them can teach what things, what survival mechanisms, so I'm not going to abide absolutely clearly to the awareness, treachery, misplaced trust, though I think all three of them have something to talk about that. Let's start, first of all, by remembering who Clarence is. Clarence is the youngest of three brothers of the Duke of York. The Duke of York appears throughout the three Henry VI plays, prominently in Henry VI Part 2 and Henry VI Part 3, when he attempts to usurp the crown with the help of his uncle Warwick from the reigning King Henry VI, who is a weak and ineffectual king married to a very powerful woman named Margaret. The three brothers serve in the army of their father in the various battles against the king and the queen's forces. Edward is the oldest of the three brothers. Clarence is the middle brother, and he's got middle brother problems. And Dickie is the youngest of the three, and he's got a malformed back. The three are introduced to us in Henry VI Part 3 as young boys, actually. And they all are eager to fight for their father. And in the battle, all participate in the battle, and all are very happy when their father wins and not so happy when he is captured and murdered and loses. And they continue the fight until finally they overcome the king's forces and Edward becomes the king. And he has two brothers now. Immediately things go sour. Not so much for Richard, because he's got his own plans. He's got a way he can do something. But it goes sour for Clarence, George Clarence, because the king decides to make for himself a very bad marriage, which with a not a commoner exactly, but not exactly an aristocrat, and threatens through this to sort of, sideline George and Richard and bring in this widow's kids as his prime instruments of power. Besides which, he intends to marry George to a woman that George is not interested in marrying. So George himself rebels during the temporary reign of Edward and joins the other side, goes over to the Henry VI side and the Queen Margaret side. In other words, he commits essentially treason. He is unhappy with how Edward is treating him, and Richard seems to be on his side. Richard seems to say, "Yeah, it's terrible. What's happening is terrible. I guess I'm just going to sort of wait it out." And George says, "Well, I'm not going to wait it out. I'm going." And he allies himself with an army and a movement that tries to unseat Edward. So there's his first problem. Just as the battle then between the two powerful forces, between the Lancastrians and the Yorks, this is, the famous Wars of the Roses. Just as the battle is about to come to a head and Edward's forces begin a siege of Henry's forces, or the Lancastrian forces, the various Lancastrian armies march up to join with Margaret. And Clarence is marching there, and Richard pulls him aside and says, "You can't betray your family. You've got to stick with us. We're family." And George immediately does a 180, and instead of leading his army inside the fortress, he stays with the ones on the outside, and they eventually win the war. So Clarence is back in the good graces again of the family, he thinks. But he's also clearly made a serious error. He's flipped twice. He is not trustworthy. The other problem he has is that Richard, unbeknownst to him, has been plotting his own accession to the crown for a long time. And Richard, in a famous speech, counts off who stands between him and the throne. As the third brother, as a third in line, he's got not only his older brother in line, but any of his older brother's sons. And if even that line goes away, if both Edward and all of his sons die, he still got Clarence to trouble with, because the throne moves down in chronological order from the oldest to the youngest if the oldest dies without an heir. So then he's got Clarence, and any kids that Clarence might have are in his way. And Richard, in one famous thing, he says, I want to be king. And then he counts for the audience all the people that stand between him and the king. And he hasn't knocked off the king yet. He hasn't knocked off the two princes yet, but he is planning now to knock off George by reminding his older brother that if Clarence betrayed him once, he could certainly betray him again. So he hatches a very long plot to defame Clarence's name in which will appeal to the king's superstitious nature. He starts the rumor around that certain fortune tellers have named G as the possible next traitor who is aiming to kill the king. And King Edward starts to buy this and has Clarence clapped in prison, where then Richard arranges for Clarence to be murdered in the famous prison scene in Richard III, where Clarence narrates a dream he had about what Richard did to him in this dream while they were crossing on the seas. He thought he was drowning, and it's one of the most great onomatopoeic speeches in Shakespeare, where he recounts the dream and actually makes you hear what it sounds like to drown. It's a terrific speech. I teach it in my classes all the time. And then he himself is drowned, turned upside down in a large barrel of money.
Out of curiosity, is it the plots? Have I laid induction dangerous by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams?
Yeah.
I just had to ask. Okay.
Pluck the letter G.
Yes.
Pluck the letter G. So that's what that means. George. Of course. Yeah. Go ahead, Bruce.
I remember that moment. It's a speech in which, as an actor, Shakespeare drowns you.
Yeah.
And because often I did strive to yield the ghost, but still the envious flood stopped in my soul and would not let it forth to find the empty vast and wandering air, but smothered it within my panting bulk, which almost burst to belch it in the sea.
Yep.
He drowns you literally as an actor.
Really quite. Notice he goes stopped in, so he thinks like the stopper in a bottle.
Right.
He stopped in my soul and would not let it forth. And then he goes through a series of bilabials to find the empty, vast, and wandering air. So suddenly you get the feeling like I could get up there, I could get the air, but smothered it within my panting soul. And then he has the bubbles rising, which almost burst to belch it into the sea. I mean, it's like, whoa, it's so creepy.
Dakin and Bruce, somebody had asked me what he meant by G. Was it the first letter of his name prophesied by the three witches later on?
Was it George, or, as he holds it in later, was it Gloucester?
Yeah. Well,
Richard.
He interpreted it. Yeah. Because Richard then became the Duke of Gloucester. So there was a G that he had to interpret how the G was going to be. So that's what happened to him. He had an older brother. He had a younger brother. He was in the line for becoming a king if people disappeared in front of him. He was too trusting. He was fickle. He was reportedly a drinker, which is why he was turned upside down in a butt of Momsey and drowned in liquor, basically. He was concerned about who he was supposed to marry. He changed sides, so he was also an incipient traitor. So what can you tell this guy? If you could get into a time machine and travel back and bring with you people of similar experience, what could they say to him that might save his life? Now, actually, they can't change it. Richard is unchangeable. So it's not going to work. None of these is going to work. None of their advice is going to work, because whatever Napoleon was, he was no Richard III. I chose people from the Napoleonic era, which is, just after 1803, when when Napoleon finally became first consul, and then he made himself king, and made himself emperor, and all that sort of stuff down the line. And he was actually an absolute tyrant, but actually very enlightened, and remade Europe for the better, frankly, except for his tyranny. And he also was a great, great warrior and a great military strategist. So he wasn't a fake either. Okay, so I send Joseph back because Joseph was, in fact, an older brother to Napoleon. They were all Corsican raised. Joseph, there was a fourth one named Louis, and there was Lucien and Joseph and Napoleon himself, and then a couple of sisters. And Joseph knows that even if you're the older brother, you can't compete with the younger brother. He marks, like as is typical in semi-aristocratic families. They were Corsican aristocrats, which is not a very high level of being an aristocrat, but in aristocratic families, still primogeniture is in effect. So the oldest son is going to inherit whatever his father had.
Sure.
The oldest son will almost always train for that job, and Joseph trained as a lawyer so that he could take over the reins of government when necessary. Napoleon, since you're not going to, since you're the second son, as you're a kid, you don't know you're Napoleon yet. You're going to train as a soldier.
Sure.
And the third son traditionally then goes into the clergy. This is what happens if you're the younger son of an aristocrat. You have to find a path to your success, and it can't be the same as the older brother. And Lucien actually did go into the seminary for a while, but left and became an academic. So Joseph would say to him, okay, I'm smart enough now to know that I can't match my youngest brother Napoleon in military strategy. I can't match him in the drive for power. He's gonna push either around me or through me, with me or without me. So Joseph decides to become basically his younger brother's right-hand man and have absolute loyalty to him and no ambition for himself as much as possible. Joseph was, in fact, his right-hand man throughout this. Joseph, like his younger brother Lucien, were both members of the 500, which was the assembly that overturned the French Revolution and introduced the Napoleonic era. And Joseph was his right-hand man throughout, always loyal to him, never contradicted him, even when he got troublesome jobs to do.
Sure.
He always did what he was told. He never exhibited for a moment a lack of loyalty. Never for a moment. Now, I don't know, most people know that. I sound like Trump now. Most people don't know this, but Napoleon was extremely loyal to his family members also. He made them all kings.
Yeah, that's right.
When he became an emperor, he would make Joseph the king of Naples, and he would make even his brother-in-law. He would make.
Despite how it was received, yeah, sure.
King of Spain, but
yeah.
King of Naples was a great job for Joseph. He loved that job, and he was really, really good at it. King of Spain, not so much. That was a really hard one because the Spanish did not like being run by the French, and there was a very strong Catholic awareness in Spain, and the Brits flooded into Spain to sort of fight the Peninsular War. So Joseph didn't have a very good job as King of Spain. He kept asking, can I go back and be King of Naples again? I kind of like that. But he hung on. And he joined his brother in all of his campaigns when he became emperor, when he lost, when he came back. But at a certain point, he never betrayed his brother, but at a certain point, he saw the handwriting on the wall, and he said, I'm getting out of here. And he moved to New Jersey. And he built himself he had no pretensions to become a member of the Napoleon eventually did have an heir when he married the princess of Austria and divorced Josephine. He did have an heir. Joseph had no pretensions to being another Napoleon. So he just He literally moved to England, and then he finally ended up in New Jersey, built himself a big mansion, became a fabulous party giver, became a member of the Academy of the Arts and a great donor, and lived lavishly the rest of his life. He survived. He survived. So he would try to teach George, don't ever try to compete with someone you can't beat. Don't ever get a reputation for disloyalty or even doubtful. Don't even be doubtful. Always be there when your brother calls on you. But don't ever look to be the king yourself. Don't ever even have that in the back of your mind. Be loyal. You will be rewarded. When you're rewarded, do your job. And when it looks like it's going bad, move to New Jersey.
Move to New Jersey. That's what I did during COVID.
Want to build a big mansion on a hill, have 14 children, 4 of them legitimate, 10 illegitimate by your various mistresses, live a great life, become the life of the party. But
now, which part? South Jersey or North Jersey? I'm just curious.
I don't remember where. It's close, very close to Pennsylvania. He actually moved to Philadelphia first, and then he bought this big tract of land in New Jersey.
I love it. You know what I love too? I love that you brought up Henry Benedict Stewart. So interesting correlation here. I taught U.S. history, not global, but I remember specifically that Henry was the last active Catholic claimant to the British crown. So he styled himself after King Henry IX.
Yeah.
And there's such an interesting correlation because as you're describing this, as you're illustrating this, I'm thinking of characteristics. Do you think that the tenor in their voice or how they approach him in this scenario is as important? Because Clarence invites sympathy, not just because he knows that he's opposed by an evil monster, but he acknowledges his guilt. He expresses the concern for his wife and his children. I would say he dies courageously. Is there a way to approach him? How to approach him?
Well, that is, the thing is, he's a weak person and he's a vulnerable person.
Sure.
I mean, it's very difficult to find Napoleon's vulnerabilities except in his overinflated ego, which simply can't resist going to Russia in the winter. So what are you going to do? But you probably have to. Well, I think Lucien is maybe the better one. But for Benedict, for Cardinal York, now when he goes back, he's very interesting. How he managed his life. Of course, the Stuarts were Catholic.
Yeah.
And therefore that was one of the reasons why they were excluded from succession.
Sure.
But Benedict was pretty much, Benedict had an older brother, and the older brother, therefore Charles, was tasked with trying to get the crown back, with being the head of the Stuart family. He therefore fought a lot of battles and unfortunately also drank a bit too much, lost the crucial battles, and was finally died. When he died, Benedict, Cardinal York, was the oldest. I think he was the oldest cardinal in the College of Cardinals. So he was the dean of the College of Cardinals. And the first thing he did was he wrote a letter to all the monarchs of Europe,
right,
telling them that he was the successor to the crown of England.
This is Cardinal York.
This is Cardinal York.
But he also felt responsible for symbolically undoing the religious schisms caused by the English Reformation.
Oh, he felt very bad about that. You know, he's actually buried in St. Peter's, and he has this massive, gorgeous tomb in St. Peter's. And what's interesting is that he never disclaimed his right. Actually, he was living in Rome, collecting a pension from his cousin George. I mean, George was pretty fair about this whole thing. He knew that family had been disinherited and disestablished, and one of the fellow cardinals of Benedict sent a letter to King George, saying, you know, give the guy the pension that he's owed from his family, and so he doesn't survive in poverty. So his uncle George was in fact or his cousin George was in fact underwriting his stay in the Vatican in Rome, or actually just out of town in a town called Frascati, where the wine comes from. along with whatever he got from being a cardinal. But after he wrote the letter to all the kings of England, somebody asked him, what did you do next? He said, absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
I never tried to enforce it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let them know I knew was the rightful heir, but I wasn't ever going to do anything to try to take it back. It was just formality. There was the formality. Sure. So never, so his advice probably to Clarence would be similar to Joseph's, except he would say, get out of the game early. Get out of the game early.
Love that.
Don't serve the cause. He loved his brother. He missed him, but he never participated in the Stuart rebellions. Get out of the game early. Go do something else. Go become a priest, become a bishop, become a cardinal. Have no political involvement at all for which anybody could think of assassinating you or removing you from the picture. Don't be a threat to anyone, but always have a sense of your own self-importance. You know what I mean? That's
sense of your own self-importance.
That would be kind of interesting. That's
a way of putting it.
Lucian had another sort of way of dealing with this. He was actually extremely instrumental in getting Napoleon the crown.
The crown, yeah.
He was the leader of the 500. And it was he who passed a number of laws and falsified a number of documents that allowed Napoleon to come into the parliament and claim the position of first consul, which was the first step to becoming king and emperor. And Lucian at the same time swore to the parliament, holding a sword to his brother's chest, saying, if I thought my brother wanted to do anything other than just be a good Republican first consul, I would push this sword through his chest right now. And everybody believed him. Well, of course, Napoleon was never going to be satisfied with being first consul. But Lucian was instrumental in getting Napoleon the first step that he wanted. But the minute, from that time on, he watched his brother take step after step after step into tyranny. And early on, he bailed.
Yeah.
He bailed. Unlike his older brother, Joseph, Lucian bailed early on. They had conflicts. He disagreed with what Napoleon was doing, the anti-democratic measures that Napoleon was doing. And he moved himself and his family. Napoleon tried, as Edward did to Clarence, tried to marry him off, tried to force him to divorce his wife and marry him off to somebody, because he insisted that his brothers all marry into the royal families and then themselves become kings. And Lucian didn't want to do that. So he bailed and he moved to Rome, where he basically lived in exile because Napoleon eventually took over Italy and Naples. Lived in exile almost for the rest of his life. And then he then moved to England when he was finally free to move. When Napoleon was in his first exile, Lucian moved to England, he was an academic, became a member of the Academy of Arts and Letters, lived a very nice life. And then astonishingly, to everyone's surprise, when Napoleon escaped back from Elba, which was his first place of exile, which is a close area, Napoleon came back and tried to take back over the empire and almost succeeded.
Almost succeeded, yeah.
Almost succeeded. It was
That's
called
true.
the 100 Days. The 100 Days that Napoleon, after being exiled, came back into power. It was astonishing. Lucian joined him. Lucian came back from England and joined him. And it failed, of course, and then he moved back to England. So that was always, so what does he have to learn? If you don't like where it's going early, try to get out.
Get out.
But never forget that you're family. So he never betrayed the family, but when he had principles. He had certain things he couldn't accept. I'm not sure that Clarence had too many principles. I think he was looking for where he thought he might get the most benefit, the most gain, and where if he was personally insulted by his by his brother's plans for him or by his brother's decision to marry below his station. I think he just got angry or he got frustrated. I don't think he had a set of core principles. So Lucian would say, maybe develop a set of core principles. Is there something you would not do? Is there something, there's some higher thing that you believe that you're not just going to change sides for power. You're going to change sides because you believe in something.
Yeah, purpose over power, sure.
And then if you see it's going the wrong way, get out of the way.
Bail out.
Get out.
It's so interesting because
but the tug of family is still so incredibly strong. You know what I mean? Yeah. One of the reasons that Clarence is fooled by Richard is because Richard is his younger brother and they grew up together and they fought together for a while. You can't resist. It's very hard to resist it when a member of your family asks you for a favor.
Right.
You don't want to be estranged, but you don't want to participate in the family crime. If you think of it like a mob thing, what's a young son in a mob situation who wants to go straight, but has family ties?
There's obligations, and he can't. Right. I promise you, Dakin, this is why I was going into the filing cabinet here in the noggin, and I said, I want to put someone in a situation where they can receive some advice and make use of it. And I'm thinking of all these characters. I had no clue, of course, that Bruce Davison, until I did my due diligence, did such a wonderful portrayal of this character. I can't wait to hear. Of course, Bruce knows this character all too well. But I thought of someone who could benefit from some sage advice if he doesn't get in his own way. And I thought, who better than our Duke, our friend the Duke? What's interesting? Edward IV's two sons, they'd be killed by someone whose name begins with G. I'm going back to the G thing.
Yeah.
It's the prophecy that Clarence talks about a few lines later. I don't remember all of them, but I know it's and from the crossrow plucks the letter G and says a wizard told him that by G. I don't know the rest, but I do remember that. Yeah, a few lines later, when Richard is talking to Clarence, Clarence is actually George. So it's all part of Richard's plot to remove Clarence by spreading all these terrible rumors to set King Edward against him. And then the prophecy comes true because Richard starts out as the Duke of what? So it's one of those wonderful equivocal things that Shakespeare loved to do all the time.
It can also get lost on a modern audience because they hear the guy constantly called Clarence and they don't think, well, where's the George?
Where's the George?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the problem.
It's incredible. And thank you so much, Dakin, for just going in depth. And I loved listening to that.
Let me just talk a little bit about Charles Talleyrand.
Please.
He had a better way. He was the survivor.
Okay.
And his survival, he was not a member of the family, so he never knew that he was going to be a king, never wanted to be a king. There was not even a possibility. He served France. That's what he thought he was serving. He was serving France. His way of managing Napoleon's ego and Napoleon's, vengeful, possible personality was to make himself necessary. To be able to do things that nobody else could do for Napoleon, to make himself inexpendable. He had to be there because Napoleon was very good at winning wars. He was very bad at making treaties.
Right.
So Talleyrand was his go-to guy on that. They fell out over and over and over again. But he always brought him back in because he was indispensable. He could do things that nobody else could do for Napoleon, so he depended on him. So that was another possible piece of advice. George, have something you can do for your brother that nobody else can do.
Sure.
And remember his family, so that family pull will be there, and he will when you're on the outs, you won't be on the complete outs.
Right.
But make sure, and by the way, while you're doing this, amass a lot of wealth.
Right.
When you're in power, make sure that you have a lot of money coming your way through whatever nefarious ways you can do it. So when you're out of power, you can still survive.
That's such a great point.
Have sort of a nest egg to protect yourself. And then when you come back into power again, make the price very high. So have a goal for yourself. Don't serve just Napoleon. Have a clear goal for yourself and for France.
Wow.
make sure you can do something that nobody else can do.
Right.
Make sure you accumulate as much money as you possibly can when you're in power, so that you have it when you're out of power.
It's a great team that you assembled. I think you would benefit from this team, and I hope that Dakin includes himself in that team as well. This is an amazing way to maybe perhaps wrong or right in his eyes. We'll see how that turns out, of course, for our lovely Duke. Mr. Bruce Davison, I'm going to set up the question for our audience. I know you know it, my friend. I will zip right through it, guys and gals and pals. This is an interesting scenario over here. Of course, I talked about the Duke of Clarence. He's known for his lines expressing fear, betrayal, and his tragic fate. He's portrayed as a complex figure. In this hypothetical topic, we're going to go back in time to the 19th century, of course, and in the hopes, Bruce, of preparing him for a potential rewrite, hopefully ensuring his survival, you'll be tasked with introducing him to 3 historical figures from the 19th century. And, of course, there'll be an altered fate that seems so distant unless our favorite George of Duke is willing to see what these figures have in store for him. Now, one of these historical figures will teach him a class on awareness. The other will teach him a class on misplaced trust. And the third, of course, will teach him a class on treachery. Who are the 3 historical figures that you've selected to help George, and why? And which of the above classes would you assign them to teach George, and why? My friend, whenever you're ready, the good floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Dakin. There's not a computer in the world that could compete with you. There certainly is. I've always been astounded at the breadth of your knowledge. Everybody used to say, if you've ever got a question about a character, go to Dakin, because he knows them from birth to death.
I have to admit, I got lucky, because about 10 years ago, I got obsessed with Napoleonic history, and wrote 4 plays about these people myself. So it was, I got really lucky. This was a softball.
Well, I'm going to go to America.
Okay.
Because I'm going to go in the 1800s in America. I've got. I'll just start it out, because I've written myself a couple of characters. So I'm going to play with 3 characters. We're talking about awareness and misplaced trust and treachery. So the first one, going to deal with awareness. Welcome, son. I'm Abe Lincoln. I wanted to give you a little advice on awareness. I'm the 16th president of a future nation called the United States. President's a little like a king in your day, but one that was elected by and for the people for a short, limited time. We had a major issue that tore our country apart when I was president, mid-century in the 1800s. Issue centered on slavery. Now, half believed the economy would not survive without slavery, and the other half believed that we could not humanely survive with it. My belief evolved into the latter. And years before this horrific war, I delivered a speech in 1858, became known as a house divided. My message was taken from Jesus in the Bible, who apparently said, a house divided cannot stand by itself, at least according to Matthew 12:25, Mark 3:25, and Luke 11:17. The war that followed was often called the war brother against brother. Now, because they often pitted each other, literally. Literally, I say, since it led to my death, amongst other things. Now, I'll introduce you to a brother who might enlighten you with a little advice on misplaced trust. I'm Edwin Booth. I am an actor. History has called me renowned as one of the greatest actors of the 19th century, particularly for Shakespearean roles, especially Hamlet. By the way, Shakespeare tells a tragic tale involving you called Richard III. I think that's a play you might wish to avoid. I founded the Booth Theater in New York City, which is still in operation as of the 21st century. My name is remembered by a few, but my younger brother's name, John Wilkes Booth, is on the tip of every school child's tongue. Remembered through an act of despicable infamy, the assassination of Abe Lincoln. See, my brother believed in slavery. I was a fervent abolitionist. His infamy destroyed my life, my career. I disowned him and resolved never to have his name mentioned in my presence again. Yet I loved my brother. And a year or so after his heinous act, I was graciously allowed by the recovering union to bury my brother's remains in the family plot. Note of irony here, I managed to give a hand and save the life of the son of my brother's victim, Robert Todd Lincoln. He had fallen from a platform into the path of an oncoming train. That's something made of iron, size of a small tavern, moving quickly, self-propelled, and powered by steam. At a railway in New Jersey. Now, I managed to pull him to safety. I did not know who it was at the time, but I received a very grateful letter from him not long after. Not many years had passed since my brother had taken his father's life. Now a word on treachery from someone in my time. How do? Jesse James here, last known as Thomas Howard. I fought in that war you heard about, kind of like you. Killed a few when I had to, robbed a few rich men, just like you, Duke, or should I call you George? I had quite a price on my head, and I was finally betrayed by kin. Cousin Bob Ford, he was an odd little boy. Took him under my wing and invited him and his older brother to live with us in my house where I was living in secret. He was protected, cared for, and trusted, and they was treated like my little brothers. What I didn't know is that odd little Bobby planned on collecting a $5,000 reward that was on my head. He waited till my back was turned, standing on a chair, dusting a picture over a mantel. He put a bullet in the back of my head. Didn't do him much good, though. I heard someone held a shotgun to his throat and let go of both barrels. And while I'm at it, you better teetotal. See, and stay away from the wine barrels. I think it's called Momsey in your day. So just a word of warning. Watch your back. Good luck to you. And don't trust your loving kin.
Bravo. Okay. Bravo. Thank you. Oh my. Wow. I have to say this to Mr. Bruce Davison. I am certainly glad that the Arthur Miller quote that you first read in college inspired you to.
It did. I was very lucky to hear that quote when I was a young man. because I didn't know who I was or where I was going, and he made it real clear to me.
It was in a book of theater essays, right?
Yes, it was a theater essays, and I can paraphrase it. I think it said there's a certain immortality that comes with acting, not through the awards or plaudits, but through the knowledge an actor carries with him to his dying day, that on a certain afternoon in a dusty and empty theater, he cast a shadow of a being that was not himself, but a distillation of everything he had ever thought or observed. All the unsingable heart song that the ordinary man may feel but never utter, he gives voice to. And in so doing, he somehow joins the ages.
Wow.
And I remembered that, and that changed my life, that one.
Oh,
that
my gosh.
little elective course that I had taken in college.
I'm so glad.
Led me to the theater. And
I'm so glad you did. And you know, think of this. How strange is this? Your choices. I loved the choices you made by the historical figures you selected. The first, obviously, I have to go Edwin Booth here. I mean, there's so much to unpack. You're thinking about someone who saved a Lincoln, despite the fact that his brother killed a Lincoln.
Right. And totally by accident.
Totally by accident.
And he didn't even know it until he received a letter later from Robert Todd Lincoln, thanking him graciously for saving his life.
His son was waiting on a train platform.
Yes, he was, and he slipped off the edge, and the train was coming, and Edmund Booth pulled him out.
Right.
Further irony, Edwin Junius and John Wilkes all performed in Julius Caesar.
Yes. with their brother Junius.
Yeah.
Their father was incredible as well. He was a force. Their father
yes, the father started off, and so they were all from a theatrical family.
Sure. But I think the successful Booth, at least in the craft of storytelling, was Edwin. I think he was the more successful of the brothers.
Edwin was the great actor. In fact, he did recover from his brother's death after people throwing things at him on stage for years. But the irony for me is the first theater in New York that I ever performed on stage on Broadway was the Booth Theater, where I managed to do the Elephant Man for eight months. So that theater was my first real home.
Yeah.
How do you remember the Duke? How do you remember Clarence, Bruce? Because of course your portrayal of him was so honest and truthful. How do you recall so many moons ago? Was this a character that you wanted to get to know?
I don't know how Dakin feels about this, but lots of times when you memorize something impactful from Shakespeare, you never lose it. It stays with you your whole life, because the words, and especially Clarence's dream speech, I can still, within $1 of it, as the accountants say, I can still memorize. I still remember that speech because it's so impactful and so powerful. The knowledge that Dakin carries about Duke of Clarence certainly expresses things as a young man I never knew about and never followed. I had read Henry VI, the three versions, but I had never really remembered the characters because they were supporting and children and worked their way through that to get them to Richard III. And
in a way, you're actually saying, I don't want to be mistaken by this, Bruce, that what you're saying in no uncertain terms is I'm the luckiest man alive to be Dakin Matthews' co-host on Masterclass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, like I said, we go back many, many years.
Yeah.
And
you are both so...
Anytime I ever had a question about a Shakespearean character or something, there wasn't a soul in the cast that wouldn't say, go ask Dakin.
I love that.
Well, I'm just astonished at the creativity of presenting it as monologues in character. They were just terrific, and you communicate better to the lay audience than I do because of my academic background. But
one of those characters, Dakin, though, however, of course not, we want to call them characters. One of them had an ego so massive that might have been a soliloquy. One of those characters, it wasn't Edwin Booth, and it wasn't Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. Well, Jesse had a lot to say.
Can I tell you guys something? I was saying this all before we went live. The first person I wrote for was Carl Reiner, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was in that room. I that's not false humility. I really didn't know why. I didn't deserve it. And I'm sitting there, and one of the young writers is pitching him a monologue. There was this spec that they wrote, so he's pitching him a monologue, and under my breath, I didn't even know I said it out loud or loud enough for someone to hear, let alone Carl. I said, "That's not a monologue. That's a soliloquy." Because he's not delivering it to anybody. He's in his privacy of his own room. And then Carl said, "What did you say?" And I 55 different emotions, and none of them were positive, is what I was feeling at that moment. I said, I must have stuttered like a bumbling fool. I was mumbling and bumbling and fumbling and stumbling. And I said, soliloquy? He said, yes, that's right. That's right. I want you to work for me, and I'd like for you to write something. It's sort of my opus. And I said, sure. So I'm sitting in a corner, and another gentleman approaches Carl, and he sees that we're having a great time. So he asks him, he says, Carl, I know you worked with the great Mel Brooks. The two of you are an amazing duo together. I'm doing stand-up, this writer says. And do you have any advice for me, any sage advice? And Carl is sitting there, and he's eating a cashew. And then another. And then another. 9. 12. It feels like 20 minutes, but it's 5. And he finally looks at the young comedian. He says, you're overthinking. My advice for you is tonight when you're on stage, don't suck. The reason I bring this story up is I have to ask Dakin and Bruce, you guys are incredible teachers of the craft as well. Have there ever been moments where you've seen students who maybe were overthinking a bit too much and you told them, just settle down, calm down? Overthinking is not a bad thing, but has that happened? Have you ever?
I have. At the Ruskin Theater, I teach occasionally. More or less a scene study classes. But I would see people, and it would feel sometimes like they had a computer in their mouth as they were saying the lines and doing that. And my way around that more than anything else was just give them business, something physical to do to keep them active so that they're not in their heads, that they're in whatever they're doing. One guy came in and he had a monologue he had to do for a TV series, and
he was stationary.
Was he stationary? It's a guy giving a monologue. I said, and he's on the toilet. I said, oh, he's on the toilet. Well, why don't you get a chair, pull your pants down, take a dump while you're saying the lines.
Right.
He came back the next week and he said, I got the job.
Yeah. Secondary activity is a great opportunity. Just say, oh, that's a great monologue. Now fold the laundry while you do it.
Right.
Yes.
Have something that will drain the tension. I mean, because overthinking often comes from tension.
Exactly.
Drain the tension. Put all your focus on this, and the words will come out as real speech. The overthinking that I find, I'm a big overthinking that I find is when people try to. It's not overthink. They.
Is it paralysis by overanalysis?
No, it's that they haven't. If you actually analyze a Shakespearean speech correctly, it will give you all the hints that you need as how to do it. But if you don't really understand what the speech means, so you make up a meaning that you think you want it to have.
Oh, I see.
And then you pursue that meaning.
Yeah.
And you attach emotional outbursts to moments of the speech that have nothing to do with your emotion. And you attach silences to the speech that have nothing to do with what the speech is doing. So it's wrong thinking. Too much wrong thinking is what my experience often is. And if you get, usually when people I teach monologue classes and some soliloquy classes also. And I usually get them, okay, now just sit down in the chair and just say that to me. Say it. Don't speech it. Just say it. Oh, God, what does that word mean? Oh, I don't know. Well, if you don't know what the word means,
Why are you saying it?
Why are you saying it, basically?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
So
Wow,
clear
that's-
thinking is good for me.
That's
Yeah.
so fascinating too. Yeah, and
So often, if you realize it too, one of the great geniuses of Shakespeare is he wrote for actors.
Yeah.
The
Right.
dialogue itself will give you the emotion. You
Yeah,
will
it's all
be able
there.
to.
Yes.
You will be able to drown yourself. You will be able to have a thought arrive at anger or leadership or so many things if you just follow the cadence.
That's
of
an amazing
the way he
point.
wrote it.
It's really all there. And you're right. And I think another thing that maybe isn't prioritized as much, just from my experience, is that the moment after, a lot of people are always preparing for the moment before, but it's just as important to prepare for the moment after as an actor. Because I think a lot of times it's not about putting stuff on as storytellers, it's taking stuff off all the time, which I think is very important. And I find a lot of storytellers, especially specifically on stage, they do take stuff off immediately after their scene. Wouldn't you agree that the after is as important as the before or the during? The after, as it pertains to your character's life, as it pertains to their world, the after, and treating that with delicate care and concern is as important. Even if it's not written, the after is as important as what is written. Would you agree?
Well, it's certainly as important in a monologue, because a monologue, unlike a soliloquy, is aimed at making the person you're talking to do something.
Sure.
So at the end of your monologue, you have to either be aware, that character is going to do what I wanted him to do,
yes,
or that character is not going to do what I want him to do, or I don't know whether that character is going to do what I want him to do. So that you must finish a monologue as you should deliver a monologue, with your focus entirely on the person you're talking to see if you have had the effect, and if not, then what's the next step?
And do you recommend for actors, Bruce and Dakin, to try out as much as they can during rehearsals as far as choices? And the reason I say that is because that could lead to some great discoveries. Of course, on stage, there are a lot of great discoveries as well. I don't feel like there's a lot of mistakes. I feel like there are discoveries. As long as you're reaching for the right tool, you know where that tool is. Because if you're reaching for the wrong tool, you might make a mistake. But during rehearsals, do you encourage the artists to throw stuff on the wall and see if it sticks? If they're prepared.
It depends on what medium you're working in. If you got to get it by lunch, there are 3 shots you just know your damn lines and hit your mark.
In the theater.
The
I'm
other
sorry.
person.
Yeah, I just saw a clip of Chris Walken doing a speech 3 different ways during the takes, and I mean they were so different. Everyone was so different. That doesn't happen unless you're Chris Walken. You can't get away with that.
Well, nobody can be Chris Walken either. I mean, you can see imitators imitate him at times. But,
I mean, he did it brilliantly the third time, and the camera was up, and he said, "So why don't I try one straight now?" And they kind of went, "Whoa, no, that was perfect."
I feel like sometimes emotional recall is not our friend, or at least for the novice, it's not. It could also have I think it's not as effective if you know exactly where you're going, not what you're doing, but where you're going. Right?
Well, that's true.
Emotional recall is interesting. I'm not a trained actor, so I don't belong to any school of acting particularly.
Sure.
I find emotional recall in an exercise is good, so that you can recall to yourself what the emotion did to your body and did to your voice.
Sure.
But when you're actually playing the role, I don't want you to emotionally recall something from somebody else's life or from your own life as opposed to the character's life. Shakespeare is very specific about this in one of Hamlet's speeches, where he says effectively, you don't play the emotion. You don't try to make yourself cry. You don't try to make your voice break.
That's right.
You try to live in the moment of the character's life and the body. And if you have really persuaded yourself of the truth of the fiction, your body will respond. If it's trained. If it's got to be a trained body. But so the emotional recall is a way of training your body to respond to situations, making it flexible and open to experience. But the acting itself both the rehearsal and particularly the performance, you should be living the mental and emotional life of your character, not of the day your dog died when you were 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Dakin and Bruce, have you ever worked with F. Murray Abraham?
I have.
I
did
just
a
one
movie.
night. Yeah.
I did a movie with Murray. Called The Color of Justice, which was movie of the week years ago. But I really, really enjoyed working with him.
Movies of the week.
Yes, remember those? They used to be able to support us. Do 3 a year. You're done for the year. Now it's
It's
grab
funny
it
because
and leave and hope for the next one.
I took a classroom years ago, and he leaned on me and 2 other students. We were helping some of the younger students who were a bit intimidated by the language, of course. When it comes to Shakespeare, I think that's the first thing people are intimidated by, and we know they shouldn't. And I remember one person specifically saying something so wise. He was teaching me, and that's the thing I love about teaching is learning. The greatest thing about teaching is learning. And here is this 18-year-old student who's never taken a class before in his life, let alone anything as difficult initially as Shakespeare. And he said, I can't accept who these characters are. And I remember telling him, it took me a while to learn to accept the characters for who they are rather than rage against who I think they ought to be.
Yeah.
Because have you ever had any difficulty in that sometimes? Or sometimes that's something, do you think it's something we need to curb? Because we get so close and attached to these characters, we can't help it sometimes.
I always find that the more you know about the characters, the more you can embrace.
Yeah.
I remember once doing a play one time, and a leading actress was playing a villainess, but she was trying to play her as a victim. And a very seasoned actor said to her, "No, my dear, you must learn to enjoy your evil."
Yeah.
Because then you will be presenting it to the audience who will be with you on the ride.
Well, I just
enjoy and embrace who you are.
Sure.
I just am grateful that we all have been touched by original sin, so we all have a streak of the mean in us.
Yes.
And besides that, we all have somewhat perverted fantasies. So who hasn't fantasized about doing something really?
That is true. And by the way, speaking of sins, I'm still a New York Knicks fan, so there's that. Guys and gals who are watching and listening, this is the portion we're about to jump into our second and final topic. I am going to say this, a memorial video to those who we've lost, who've been a part of the new network, who've been a part of this amazing living room style conversation that has allowed all of you to walk into your living room and have great stories that we appreciate you listening to. These are those men and women who have found another place, hopefully better than this, that we call Earth. We give them a salute. This is a quick video package to those we've lost. Trio of options for Gallagher, more underrated than why? Sauerkraut, Henry Kissinger's deep soothing voice, or dogs wearing sweaters?
I like dogs wearing sweaters.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I haven't done an interview in 20 years.
Gallagher.
What a mind. What a great mind. Mr. Sizemore, first name Tom.
Oh.
How are you, my friend? I could turn the volume lower if you'd like next time. If you'd like me to do that, Tom. I could do that.
Wow, that was something else. I don't know what I can do now.
Oh, please.
That was terrific, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And what, as charming as a guy that you are, man, and as honest as a guy as you are, and as down-to-earth as a guy as you are, you played a character that isn't so down-to-earth named Scrooge in college. You played Scrooge. And, of course, I feel like a thespian should rely on their instinct. Do you feel like you rely on your instinct a lot as a storyteller as well?
I mean, playing Scrooge at that young an age was, when I think about it now, I only way I could have done it is I was relying on my instincts. You know, I could have done it any other way. Okay.
More underrated than why? Unicycles, Italian men named Skippy, or sophisticated dinosaurs?
What? More sophisticated dinosaurs?
Yeah,
I want to say the sentence. Italian men named Skippy. I just want to say.
Yes. Yeah. Italian men named Skippy.
I just want to say the sentence. Italian men named Skippy.
Yeah, something you'll never hear. Yeah. Did you have fun? Did you have a nice time?
I had a great time. It was ball.
Yeah, man.
I want to do it again. This is great. I just think it's going to be, you know, a lot of fun for people. I don't think people like this on the air. I don't think really. No, there isn't. You know, I just think it's going to be I'm very interested in how people respond to it. You know, because I know it's going to be interesting and see if people tune in and stay tuned in, and I really hope they do. And you know, I'm all yours, bro. Let's go out and make this work. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Bye.
I teach a workshop, and one of my students finally said about my class about iambic pentameter. He finally said, I got it, and he was excited. And it was both his elation and those 3 words that make it worthwhile, right?
Amen. Amen. You got it. But I think I've got to have equally passionate people involved in the production of it. That passion will override any reservations anybody has as to the show's potential for entertainment or education.
Did you feel as if transitioning to the stage and performing live theater was a natural fit for you?
Yes, I did. I always felt very comfortable on stage, more so on stage than I did in film or television. So I'm looking forward to you, Avi, giving me your thoughts and your input, because as I told you, that piece that you sent me is, I love good writing, and I think that's been the secret of my career. And this is a beautiful piece of writing, as I said. I'm referring to the piece that you wrote me. You're onto something because you're a writer. You're a creative force, and I want to hook up.
Thank you so much for those kind words, guys. Thank you for being you, my friend. I appreciate you and respect you wholeheartedly.
And that goes double for me to you, Avi.
What a gentleman. And there's Papa Klein. Taught me a lot. I think you guys would have enjoyed my dad's company. He was shy, but fun and giving and thoughtful. Love you, Pop. I just thought Pop looked like a movie star. I always thought that. But my dad would have loved this conversation. And I guess the very brief question I have for you before delving into topic number 2 is, Bruce and Dakin, not to put you on the spot, but if there were someone that you'd lost recently or maybe a long time ago that you think would be enjoying our conversation here, who would it be? A friend, a family member?
Wow. I don't know. I'm going to talk about somebody I lost recently in the next section, but he would not have enjoyed this conversation.
Gotcha.
Or he might have enjoyed it, but he wouldn't have understood it. So
it's such an interesting thing that we use one word. If I would have went with fascinated instead of enjoyed, if I would have went with fascinated, maybe it's a different story. Bruce, anyone come to mind at all that you think would?
Well, just watching your slides, you know, Tom Sizemore, I worked with Tom. We spent some wild times in Romania, and of all places, it's hard to be wild in Romania. And John Amos, you know, I mean, miss John as well. We lose so many over the time. Harris Yulin springs to mind. I love Harris. He was another great theater. He played my father in Little Foxes, and he would come up with this most incredible bits playing his son. I would just stand next to him, and he'd have a rolled up newspaper, and he'd just sort of flick it against his leg, and I jumped, and we got the characters. That's
wow.
I mean, it would be stuff like that. He hired me years later to do the front page. Worked at it for 2 or 3 weeks, and he said, "Come here, I want to talk to you a minute." He said, "These guys are walking all over you. I know it's the part in which you got to be the master of ceremonies playing Hildy, but you better start dominating these scenes or I'm going to fire you." And I was shocked because we were friends, and but he pushed me to the point where he came afterwards and he said, "I had the New York Critic up here. He said he'd never seen you do anything like that. You're finally not a boy, you're a man now." So you can start acting.
You might like this Harris story. I was on set with him and John Lithgow. I don't know John that well, by the way.
Yeah.
But Harris was an acquaintance, such a wealth of knowledge. And I remember him telling a story about how when he was on set of Scarface, He was in Scarface. He played a police officer.
Yeah, he got shot.
Yeah, and he got shot there at one of the scenes. So he wanted more rehearsal time. So he was demanding it, and he wasn't getting it. So Al Pacino's sitting right next to him, and he says, "If we don't get more rehearsal time, Al Pacino's walking, right, Al?" And Al was, yeah, sure. Al was a big proponent of rehearsal time, so he got it. But he found a way to get it, and he always said that if you find a way to get rehearsal time on set, get it. Go after it. Get as much rehearsal time as possible. So I remember that.
Well, when you reach a certain age like us, you just better keep your mouth shut. they'll have Richard Thomas in there next week.
Richard Thomas. I'll tell you this much. This is a game I once played with Dakin. It's a different version of it. And before we transition to our final topic, levity. It's a very, very brief game. I think I like to play around with the title of this name for our youth who are watching. They like to say "at." Where are you at, right? So this game is called Where Thou At. Where Thou At. So that's a fun game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a trio of options for Dakin and Bruce. Shakespearean characters. I'm going to give you a trio of options, and you would have to select which one you think fits the most. Which one fits the most? Now, guys, I'm going to start this off with a law firm. If there was a law firm that we can call Davison Matthews. Davison Matthews, how about that? This is a new law firm over here. They're in search of their next attorney. If they have to pick one of the following, who would they select and why? Dakin and Bruce, starting with Bruce. If you can select and you can hire one of the following as your attorney in your firm, who would it be and why? Would it be Iago of Othello, Mark Antony of Julius Caesar, or Isabella of Measure to Measure?
Isabella
would be your choice? Wow.
Yep.
Not Iago.
No.
Oh. By the way, quick, had the opportunity.
Although we'd probably get the law firm shut down for too much DEI.
Right.
I had a monologue of his once, and I asked my professor, I did a lot of prep, so I said, "Can I play? I want to play." I did some prep. It makes sense to have an aside during the following line. "Oh, you are well-tuned now," if you recall that line of his. "Oh, you are well-tuned now." When he's saying that about Othello, essentially he's got him up here. He's literally right now has a stranglehold on him, and Othello's losing it. And I said, "Am I allowed to play with the audience?" Now, do you guys feel real quick if the actor is prepared? Of course, we're talking about the stage and theater. Would you give them permission to play if it makes sense? Again, in this case, it was an aside to the audience. "Oh, you're well-tuned now." I looked right at the audience. I walked right near them, and then I held the line long enough to make sure that they can absorb it. Would you allow a student, or would you allow someone who's prepared to make that choice without?
Well, he certainly spoke a lot to the groundlings and everybody else. So, I'd say, you certainly can throw it out there. You might get a tomato back at you or something.
I wouldn't necessarily do it mid-speech because setting down the pegs that make this music continues from the image of being well-tuned, meaning you two guys, you two people, Othello and Desdemona are in harmony right now, but I'm going to
shatter that.
I'm going to unscrew the pegs in one of these lutes or guitars, and the result will be a discord. So if I did that, you're actually sort of breaking the image into two parts, and they may not be able to figure out how they go together.
I see. Yeah. By the way, Dave, I got to tell you,
Othello, you as the two of them, the couple.
The couple.
Yeah, you're well tuned now, but I'll sit.
I feel like there's so much we don't know. Well, we know that he was Cassio, of course, took the position that Iago wanted, and Iago was a bit older, and of course, there's some resentment there. The character I always feel sorry for the most is Roderigo. I always feel sorry for Roderigo.
Yeah,
just what a
he's the Clarence of the bunch.
He's the Clarence of the bunch. There you go. I got to ask this question, of course. The next one. There's a new Hopeless Romantics Center, and it's opened its doors. It's called the Hopeless Romantics Center. Which of the following characters would most likely be the first in line at the Hopeless Romantic Center? Bruce, Romeo of Romeo and Juliet, Orlando of As You Like It, or Lysander of A Midsummer Night's Dream?
Well, Romeo, I guess, certainly I would think would be there. And certainly his friends.
Sure. I like that. Mr. Dakin Matthews?
Well, I'd pick Phoebe of Midsummer Night's Dream and Helena of All's Well.
Okay. Did you like Orlando as an option?
Yeah. Initially, he's pretty hopeless, but he catches on.
He catches
so,
on.
Yeah,
It's a pig of a part, though. I mean, he's just there to be straight man to his lover.
Yeah.
A bare knuckles tournament has announced for civilians that allows them to take part in a bare knuckles tournament. Of the following characters, who is most likely to win? Bruce, McDuff, Tybalt, or Hotspur?
Hotspur.
Yeah. Dakin as well. Okay. Is it close or is it not really close? Of those options, no?
I think McDuff is a close second, but McDuff has a slightly softer side.
Okay.
Yeah. He needs to get really, really angry in order to get in there. Hotspur is naturally angry.
Yes.
Congenitally angry.
With permission from Mr. Dakin Matthews and Mr. Bruce Davison, my friends, I'm going to call this next scenario Club Dakinson. I'm going to combine your names. Club Dakinson. It's a comedy club, if you will. And Dakin and Bruce's club, guys. It's their club. So of the following, who do you think would get the biggest laugh from the audience and why? Falstaff, Richard III, Mercutio, or Sir Toby of Twelfth Night?
Well, I would certainly say Falstaff. I mean, he's a great. He's got something to say about everything that's going to make you laugh, and that was his job as far as being that tragic guy that's the comic.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Falstaff. It's not even. Yeah, I agree too. That's a great selection there. We have two more of these. A new entrant will enter Avi Klein's new Sport of the Mind tournament. Sport of the Mind. Of the following, who is most likely to prevail in a battle of wits? Hamlet, Henry V, Iago, or Beatrice?
It's a toss-up between Hamlet and Iago.
Hamlet and Iago.
It's a toss-up between Henry V and Beatrice in terms of wittiness.
Okay.
Between the two of them.
I see that. Sure. Yeah. And the last one we have right now, I call this, it's a fun scene. It's called Hanging with the Homies. Dakin, Bruce, and Avi are in the house. We're hanging out. All of us are hanging out, having a good time. Why not? We're playing cards. We're singing songs. We're making fun of the absolute horrid play of the New York Knicks, as I mentioned earlier. We're having a good old time, the three of us. And in this scenario, who would be a perfect fit to hang out with us? In this scenario, would it be King Lear, Juliet's nurse, Christopher Sly of Taming of the Shrew, or Feste of Twelfth Night? Be hanging out with us.
That's hard. Well, Juliet's nurse is kind of fun.
She's so fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, she just.
Poor Peter, right? Poor Peter.
Yeah.
I would normally think Feste. But when it gets a little dangerous, he sort of pulls out.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah.
If we were going to go crazy, it would be Christopher Sly.
That's a great one.
If we didn't want any, what do they call them? The side rails, guardrails. We didn't want any guardrails on our fun.
I wouldn't want to be playing poker with Richard III.
No.
And guys, I just want to explain the objective of the game. I love being able to have us illustrate the improbable because our brain goes somewhere. We hear these options, as wacky as they are, they illustrate something we never thought we'd see, and it forces us to really think. And I really want everyone to not be afraid of Shakespeare. There's no reason to be afraid of the Bard. And thankfully, Bruce and Dakin are here to help us with that. And what better way to transition to our final topic? Starting with Bruce Davison is I'll set him up. I'll set him up right now, guys and gals and pals who are watching. The word to the action is what I call this. Bruce, if you were granted the wish of selecting one day from your past that the Bard could observe, pen, and present as a sonnet, what day would you select and why? My good friend, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
I'd like, first of all, to take it a little further. There's something that happened on one day, but I surrounded it a little bit by a short story that's only a page long. But Shakespeare's already written this sonnet. I don't know. Sometimes we live in the past, in the present, and the future. I didn't know this sonnet at the time, but it certainly connects later with it. And first of all, I'll give you the sonnet, which is, my love is as a fever longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease, feeding on that which doth procure the ill, the uncertain, sickly appetite to please. My reason, physician to my love, angry that his prescriptions are not kept, hath fled me, and I, desperate, now approve. Desire is death, which physic did exempt. Past cure I am, now reason is past care, and furthermore with evermore unrest my thoughts and my discourse are as madmen's are, at random from the truth, vainly expressed. For I have thought thee fair and sought thee bright, who are as black as hell, as dark as night. And I wrote this. It centers on a couple of days, but this sort of represents that sonnet for me. The winter of 1967 was pretty brutal. 68 would be worse in other ways, but we didn't know that yet. I was a junior at NYU, sharing a rent on a funky East Village apartment on 12th Street and 2nd Avenue with my friend and classmate Phil Schaefer. Above the doorway, the Claremont was engraved in crusted granite letters darkened with soot. Classy long ago, perhaps, but the years had not been kind. We shared a rodent-infested fifth-floor semi-walk-up that had a urine-soaked elevator, which worked on rare occasions. One of the denizens of the fifth floor was a haunted shadow we came to know as Jake. On hot summer nights, we'd open the windows in the hallway door, and eventually there came a shuffle of footsteps, then a soft, ghostly wail, intermittent first, then incessant. After a while, it would have me wide awake and pissed off, screaming at the hallway, telling him to knock it off only made things worse. Then the mumbles would grow louder, becoming plaintive and clear. Ma, 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 ma. Returning from classes one winter afternoon, I noticed a sign taped on the elevator door proclaiming it working. I slid the scissor door open. It was painted the same ugly pale prison green as the halls. I was stamping the snow off my boots when a specter stumbled in behind me. He was small, charcoal gray, with filth from head to toe, a ruddy hat and ear flaps and snot-caked hook nose, cracked lips, and boxy Coke-lensed glasses that overwhelmed his tiny gray face. I nodded hello, but he seemed not to acknowledge me. Finally, as we inched past the third floor, he glanced down at a book I was carrying. Hamlet, he whispered. Life is tragedy. He killed his mother. And he began to weep silently. Embarrassed, I held my breath as long as I could, avoiding the stench, and swallowed. I put my hand on his shoulder. He violently smacked it away. A few seconds of eternity later, we reached the fifth floor. He frantically slid the door open and skittered away. I stood there, able to breathe again. Months passed, and we came to grudgingly accept the shuffles and the moans, like cowboys listening to the coyotes, just part of the landscape. One day in spring, I came home to find a neighbor, stocky guy from Queens, at the mailbox. After pleasantries, I asked him, "What's with the moaning guy?" "Oh, that's Jake," he replied. "Don't worry, he's harmless." "I'm not worried, I'm just curious. I mean, the pain in that voice." Well, the long and short of it is he and his mother used to live here, and he was always kind of nuts, and I guess one day she couldn't take it no more. She jumped off the roof. I regretted the times that I had yelled, "Shut the fuck up," or just wished him a similar fate. God, that's awful. Maybe we could find someone to, talk to him, get him some help. He smiled and sighed. "Well, from what I hear from the older tenants, been there, done that." "Older tenants," I said. "So this isn't new?" He shook his head, studying his mail as he walked toward the steps. 17 years ago. You get used to it. What else you gonna do? I moved away the following year after Martin Luther King and RFK were gunned down. Sometime later, they gutted and renovated the Claremont. Sandblasted letters now stand out above freshly painted doors. 20 years later, after my own mother died, I felt a new compassion for Jake. Tolerance wasn't much of a gift in my youth. I live in California now, and at my age, sleep has a different value. Sometimes when I'm up at the hour of the wolf, the Santa Ana winds seem to call like a legion of Jakes, moaning for mama.
Bruce, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for thinking. Thank you for feeling. Thank you for painting. Thank you for illustrating. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Avi. It's no good unless you get to share it. And you do that.
I'm the luckiest person in the world right now. That's how I feel. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dakin Matthews, I will turn it over to you, my friend, as well. And I'm just going to read this to our audience in case people are just tuning in at this particular point in time. If you were granted the wish of selecting one day from your past that the bard could observe, pen, and present as a sonnet, what day would you select and why? Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours. And Bruce, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is something I've never talked about before. The thing I value in Shakespeare's sonnets are so varied. Sometimes there are love sonnets, but the majority, I think, are not. Sometimes they're very angry sonnets, like the one that Bruce just performed so brilliantly. But the ones that I value are the ones where he are the first person sonnets where he does a ruthless and often humorous self-examination. He's gotten himself into a very compromised or difficult position. In the sonnets, it happens to almost always have to do with a triangular affair, either a sexual triangular affair or a professional triangular affair where he has competition. And he tries to analyze his own emotional reasons, both for feeling what he's feeling and doing what he's doing. And he's ruthless with himself. There's one fascinating one where his best friend has now stolen his girlfriend or his lady, and the two of them are going at it quite physically. And he still loves them both and he hates them both. And he says, but I can live with it, sort of. It's a very complex sonnet, and you have to read deep into it to understand what he's saying. He says, I can sort of live with it because now that she's screwing him, I know he still loves me. So in a sense, I'm still in his heart. So in a sort of way, she's still screwing me too. It's just the most unbelievable. This is how he's coping with the complex feelings that he's having. This is from my own life. My wife and I, our firstborn child was born autistic and heavily, deeply disabled. His whole life, he never spoke. We had him at home for about 7 years, I think, until we had two more children and on the verge of having a fourth. And we decided to place him outside the home after a lot of difficulty. We thought for a number of reasons we did this. One of them we told ourselves was that the other children's lives would constantly be governed by our need to attend to him, and they wouldn't have the childhood that they deserved. We also had careers both at the same time. We also thought sometimes parents are not the best caretakers for disabled children because they're too indulgent. And sometimes the child, even as profoundly retarded and physically compromised, mentally compromised as he was, can't learn to whatever survival skills are they're capable of. So we did place him outside the home. We were fortunate to live in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time, which had really good places. The public schools had very good classes for the disabled. He never walked while he was living with us. And within 2 years after we had placed him, he began to walk with a walker and then began to walk by himself. He never spoke. So he did learn something, and he learned some skills. He did have a little bit of the savant in him. He always knew where he was in a car. He always knew. It's like he had a map in the car. So if you told him you were going somewhere and you took the wrong off ramp, he would throw a fit. He knew where he was. So there were certain things about him that were mysterious that we could never understand. He early in his life, this didn't present until he was about a year old. He was seemed like a perfectly normal, happy, laughing child. I remember once when he was about 2, I guess, he was sitting next to us in the breakfast room, and we had a basket of his plush toys. And I looked down at him. I said, "Where's your Bugs Bunny?" And he pulled out his Bugs Bunny. "Where's your Mickey Mouse?" He knew everyone by name. He knew every one of them by name. And yet he would never do it again. He did it once, and he would never do it again. Remember once we took him to a zoo when he was about 5, I guess. He was not walking. We were in a stroller. And he was quite interested in all the animals, except when we rolled him over to the elephant thing, and he just went like this. We moved him away. Then we'd go to the other animal. He was fine. He would look at them. We'd move him back to the elephant, just go like this. It's like, well, that's kind of an autistic reaction. This is too big for me to put together. I can't put it together. So it was fascinating. Anyway, but we placed him quite far out of town in a very nice placement with a good program, but they insisted that we not visit him for 3 weeks so that he could accommodate himself to his new surroundings. It was very difficult, but we thought we were making the right choice. And we did go to visit the facility 3 weeks later, but they placed us in another room with windows so we could watch how he was socializing and how he was behaving, and that was good. The door was left open a crack. Now, the one thing about Richard, he never looked you in the face. That was another, again, typical autistic behavior. And we sat there for about 40 minutes, and I noticed that his eyes were drawn to the crack, the door crack. And suddenly he started crawling over, and he came into the room with the dark room where we were. And he crawled right up to me, put his hands on my knees, sort of got on his knees and looked right in my face, which he had never done before. The only other time he did that was many years later when he was hospitalized in intensive care. And I was sitting with him, and he looked me in the face. Basically, he was saying, "Leave now. I don't want you here." Basically, that's when he was really. So, and I just felt heartstruck at that. And he was, saying, "Is he asking me why did I do this? Is he telling me to leave? What is he doing here?" So, for me, what I would like to have Shakespeare write a sonnet in the first person of me at that moment, trying to figure out how much of our decision was selfish, how much of it was altruistic, how much of it was loving to him.
No.
Because I know that it's not a simple emotion. You know, we have never regretted that we did it. We've never felt particularly guilty that we did it. But there is a corner of us where they say, we know there are heroic people who keep their disabled children with them at home, and sacrifice much of their home life, much of their careers for that, and actually take it upon themselves to study and figure out and train themselves to deal with this. And I would love to have a sonnet that was surprisingly very self-examining, very self-critical, and also, as Shakespeare could do, oddly humorous. He examines himself with this sense of irony and not exactly self-forgiveness, but a kind of self-understanding that smiles at his own compromises. Do you know what I mean? Smiles at his own choices. Because I don't think I could write that sonnet. I can feel it, but I don't think I can write it. So that's what I'd like.
Dakin, thank you so much. Your son's name?
Richard.
Richard, as you mentioned.
He passed away 2 years ago. He lived much longer than anyone thought.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but he had been in intensive care twice, and he just, he had a very, very difficult life. But for most of it, he was in good care. He had really good caregivers, and he was very happy. We visited him every month. They lived about 2 hours away, this last placement, and we visited him every month. He did his favorite thing, got in a car and drove a very familiar path for an hour and a half.
And he was aware of where he was.
Played his classical music. He liked Offenbach, and he liked Strauss waltzes.
Oh, wow.
And he was the music man. So we had a special tape for him that we played it. We played it always, and he always knew when it was time to turn the CD over. He would
think that moment in the zoo with the elephant.
Grab my shoulder. He sat in the back. We reach up and grab my shoulder 30 seconds before the end of the first CD. Make turn. So he had incredible awareness, but no means of communicating it. Yeah,
not at all, verbally at all, right?
None, not a word.
Yeah, that moment at the zoo with the elephant. Do you think
that was fascinating? I always remember that.
You think he was overwhelmed at that moment?
It's like he knew his limits.
Wow,
it was an odd way in which he knew his limit. If he looked at the elephant, it would disturb him. You know, he looked at all the other animals. Only the elephant. There was
the elephant
that disturbed him. Yeah.
I just thought of
this.
Made
him shut down.
The elephant in the room truly became the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
At that point. I want to say this to you both wholeheartedly. I've never said this on any broadcast. We've now had 260 consecutive episodes since we started every Saturday night for years. I'm sad. I'm sad that this moment is fleeting. I know we'll have other conversations. I know we're going to have, but this one right here, I'm if you could tell or not, but I'm very sad. I'm very sad because I'm happy. I'm sad at what this represented. I'm sad that it represented a moment in my day that I needed without knowing that I needed it, but I did. And not so much because of the topics I conceived, but because of the people around me. That's Bruce and that's Dakin. And I wish words can illustrate much more how I feel, but I'm so forever grateful to the two of you as human beings and friends. And thank you for creating a magical day for me, because you both have. I want you to know that.
Well, one advantage about hanging out with actors, they're sort of fearless, visceral communicators. That's how they make their living. So if you ask them something personal, they'll probably tell you.
Well, it's just very briefly. If I would have chosen Sonnet 30 for myself. When to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past. I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new wail my dear time's waste. I would have put it personal. It's something I could personalize, because I feel like if Shakespeare can mull over his past failings, all of us can.
Yeah.
His dead friends, he feels like he hasn't done anything useful. To our audience, very quickly, very, very briefly, again, I say this, a mirror to society. In case you want to know why it's important to understand the Bard and his work, is commentary on society's issues, for one. Gender roles, social injustice, corruption, way ahead of its time. So the postmodern retellings, I think, are incredible. Please sink your teeth into the bar. Don't be afraid. It's a lot of fun at the end of the day, especially when there's a willingness to learn something new. That being said, I'm gonna before we depart, I bid you adieu. Dakin and Bruce, anything you'd like to tell each other, my friends? Anything like?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say to Avi too that it wasn't just us who created this. You put it together.
Yeah.
You gave us an assignment that I found inspiring.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you realize that, you know, we live our lives, but you're the person that can bring things together. And it's so good to see Dakin and to share such heartfelt connections, because I love actors and people that are, you know, because they're walking around buck naked all the time with their emotions. They really have to put it out on the line. They're up there by themselves.
Always utterly dependent on the people they're with.
Yes.
That wonderful mix of utter dependence and complete self-awareness, you know.
Yeah. And that's why theater has such a treasured place in our lives, because it's immediate, you know. Film you'll get to see a year later, and how it's cut and how you're cut out of it and things. But the theater, you're there and you're standing in front of these people, and hopefully you can share a time that for me has been some of the best times of my life. That I can feel a movie. I was working on a book, and I got I was woken out of a sound sleep and dragged down a hallway, and suddenly I'm with Barbara Rush, and I'm not even awake, realizing I'm at the airport and I'm about to shoot on the conveyor belt. And I said to her, who's doing her own makeup, Barbara, you ever get confused about what's real and what's not? She said, darling, it's only real when they say action. That's the title.
Oh my gosh. I thank you. Did you, and just for the suits and ties out there who thought a Shakespeare episode wouldn't do well, I know it will, but it already has in a way, which is great, because it's I know we spoke about everything we were passionate about, and we spoke about people that we think about often, and I just want to see if our suits and ties, and I know they will ask us for a Shakespeare part 2 next year. We will definitely do that. I know Masterclass with Dakin will continue at some point as well. Mr. Bruce Davison, always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. Did you guys have a nice time for the old suits and ties out there? Do you like the platform or how different?
Absolutely, and I look forward to next time. I want to see Dakin doing Lear, and I'll play as Fool.
Or vice versa on alternate nights.
Anything you gentlemen want to talk about you have coming down the pike, feel free, to our viewers, to our audience, to anybody. Anything
Well, I just, just for Shakespeare, I'm a terrible academic about it and a terrible technician about it, but that's just all it means to opening the mysteries of the heart for me, and the fact that that language, even over Zoom, even in the studio, the language is such a channel for opening hearts to one another. It's
amen to that. Thank you,
and
guys.
the better the language, the better the channel, basically.
Well, I'm the luckiest man in the room, and I appreciate you guys giving me that opportunity to do this. I hope you have a great rest of the day. For Mr. Bruce Davison, for Mr. Dakin Matthews, I am Avi Klein, and thank you to all of you who have given us an opportunity to chill in your living room and hang out in your living room tonight. Thank you so much.
Wow. Wow. I have been waiting for this night, and it did more than not disappoint. That was beyond anything I could have ever imagined with we knew Shakespeare was going to be included. It is Dakin Matthews after all, and then Bruce Davison there alongside him. Both huge legends of the stage and screen, but the depths that they went, and Avi including all of his usual trademarks of time travel and historical figures and incorporating Shakespeare into all of it. It's so perfect for this episode, for these panelists, and him driving that conversation, taking a character that is so often not necessarily overlooked, but takes a while to find out who he is and what he does. He's part of a trilogy and then part of a tetralogy, and there's so much there. Gosh, Clarence, and then what advice you would give to him. So what is it about Clarence that was the character that was chosen for this topic? Miranda, what do you think about what you've heard of Clarence tonight?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was going to ask you the same thing because I know that you have a lot of knowledge on Shakespeare, Giselle, and I want to hear what you have to say about that.
I really enjoyed how they both broke it down, and one person had a very Eurocentric view, and then the other had a very American-centric view. It's part of what they know the best, and it worked so well with this topic that Avi conceived. We had the entire background in his history laid out for us from Dakin Matthews, so that really helped with the clarification of knowing what's happening in the world, in both worlds, in both time periods, the world of Clarence and the world of the 19th century. Did that make it more accessible, Miranda, as someone who's not as well versed?
Definitely. Honestly, I'll say that Bruce breaking it down the way that he did and kind of in a way performing the stories that he was telling really broke it down more for me. Dakin was definitely a history lesson for sure. I mean, he's so knowledgeable about Napoleon and Joseph Bonaparte and all of that. The thing that I love the most was when he said that Joseph Bonaparte settled in New Jersey. He's like, then he went to New Jersey. That's the kind of learning that helps me the most, is in ways that I can understand it. So when he was saying things like that, I took those in a lot. And then the way Bruce broke it down when he was talking about Abraham Lincoln and Edwin Booth, and then his brother was John Wilkes Booth, who killed Abraham Lincoln. So that really, like the treachery there, so that really broke that down for me. And I understood that very clearly. And just the way he storytelling all of that with the accents and everything. I mean, it was amazing how he just transitioned into each part. I'll say it was awesome, and a history lesson in inside itself.
Yeah, they had two very, very different approaches.
Yeah.
Dakin Matthews went very academic, very dramaturg, very, very historical, very historian. And Mr. Davison really leaned into the performance aspect, the storytelling aspects, and they both made these come alive in very different ways. Howard, did you prefer one approach over the other? What did you get from each approach to this?
Yeah, great question, Giselle and Miranda. I love your assessment of it. I loved how he talked about, how Clarence, and he kind of intermingled. Clarence had his set of brothers, and how Napoleon also had his set of brothers, and how he kind of intermingled the dynamics between those. And he said Clarence having a middle child problem.
Middle child.
I mean, I love it, because who doesn't like understand that?
Yes.
Middle child problems. I'm the youngest, but I have a middle sister. But so I think breaking it down like that was, for me, like it rooted me right into the room right there the minute he said that. But I think what I also leaned into, and I love, Giselle, how you broke it down, how it went into more of a dramaturgical kind of approach, and Bruce went kind of more storytelling, because the storytelling really spoke to me. and how he picked Abe Lincoln, and then that transitioned into Edwin Booth, and that transitioned into seamless into Jesse James. I'm like, what? I'm like, that is like a remix. I don't know. I'll also explain it, but that to me was wow. Just his seamless transition into each character. I dropped my pen. I'm like, all right, I'm watching this. That's it. I mean, Miranda, was there like a particular character that spoke to you? Abe Lincoln, Edwin Booth, or Jesse James?
I think Jesse James spoke to me more because it was, so like you said, it was a seamless transition. So it went from what I've heard was, an American accent talking about Abraham Lincoln and slavery and how, all the things that Abraham Lincoln did. Then it transitioned into like a British accent. And then Jesse James really hit me because there was this like the Southern accent. And I was like, whoa, like it really got me. I do Southern accent all the time. So that like, I was like, whoa.
Sorry to interrupt. We have this amazing comment here from Power Store Inc. Giselle, do you want to read it?
Sure, yeah. Power Store, thanks for joining us. Can't really vote in this. Each brought some meaningful aspects to life. They absolutely did. And this may very well be the absolute most difficult one to vote on. But we haven't even told you to vote yet, and your votes are coming in hot and heavy. I'm seeing them all up on screen. So, Power Store, thanks for kicking that off.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. And
I mean, I also the comments, you guys with your comments coming in with such really great comments, insightful comments, and also you guys were speaking from the heart as well, which we totally appreciate. But how
a little bit about Howard, Giselle, Miranda for a second. I want everyone to put this in proper context. Where's my mic? There it is. Very briefly. So for those watching, Engine members, suits and ties, luminaries, everybody that's enjoying the program, whether it's live or you're watching this on a Sunday night, I want you to know that when I go back over 2 decades, I recall the beginnings of being a student of this great craft. It started with Shakespeare. It really started with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
We're always storytelling as kids in some way, shape, or form. But I would definitely say that when it comes to schooling, it started with Shakespeare. And the first person that taught me a lot wasn't a professor, although I learned a lot from several. The person who taught me a lot by observing was the man here on screen, Howard Collado. I'll say that publicly. Yeah, guys, Howard. I know he looks youthful, looks like he's 22, but he's not. He's an old bum. He's quite the old dog with a W. But Howard Collado taught me a lot about this craft by observing him. We were in Romeo and Juliet together. He portrayed the great character of Mercutio, who, along with the nurse, gives Peter a lot of shit in that play, amongst other people. But there's an openness to that character that has to come from the openness of the storyteller. And if one doesn't meet the other, it'll be nothing more than a lie. It's my opinion of Mercutio. And he taught me so much about how to be an honest storyteller. So that's Howard. I picked up the phone years later when we started this journey years ago, and I haven't mentioned this, and maybe it's worth mentioning. We've always made a big deal about it, but this year not so much because I want to stay in the present. But about 4 days, we're looking at a 5-year history of TKN, guys. It's a pretty big deal. 5 years. Yeah, 5 years, September 2020. If you think about it. So the first person I called about 2 months prior to the launch of this network was Howard. It wasn't a luminary. It was Howard Collado because, again, his storytelling spoke to me. It was truthful. It was honest. It wasn't braggadocious. It wasn't for himself. It was for everyone else. We've had some people here who are greatly talented. There's no doubt. Some who aren't here anymore. We wish them the best. But what set Howard apart, not by comparison, but what set him apart for me was how, again, his art was for everybody to see and everybody to feel. It wasn't for himself. And I want to see that from him every day because that's the art that spoke to me. Because it was meant for me, provided by him. That's the best way I can put it. Giselle, you love this craft with a passion. You've been told by many people you shouldn't do it, you can't do it. Why are you doing it? The whys, the explaining, the over-explaining. You put that aside and you did it. You didn't have to explain to anybody anything verbally. And I apologize, guys, for not pulling up your comments. I will momentarily, I promise you. I want to be able to speak, again, from a place of truth and honesty in a way that isn't distracting. So I'm doing what I do best. I'm staring at a wall because the wall speaks back to me. That's why I do my best writing. I don't need a cabin. I don't need anything that's scenic. I need to look at a wall and hear what it's telling me. And it's telling me that when it comes to Giselle, her passion for this is what drew me to her. Her passion to truthful storytelling is what made me realize that I surround myself with good company. Because she's consistently proud of what she does, and she doesn't wear her knowledge on her sleeve for all to know. She listens. She observes. She includes others. She does her best to lead, not forcefully, but gently and justly for all. If ever there were a colorblind or age-blind human being in this world, it's Giselle. So I give it up to you for being a great human, because that comes before becoming a great storyteller. And thank you for dedicating your life to this craft. Since I'm not gonna speak your age here, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that to a lady. That wouldn't be the right thing to do. But for decades and decades and decades and decades, I should stop at 3 decades and not 4. You're not that old. Decades upon decades, you've committed yourself to this craft. Since you were a child, you knew that this is what you wanted to do, and you did it. Again, without getting detailed about geographic origins, you moved to New York City. You moved from a place you called home, and you did it when others said they could or would, and they didn't. You did. You did it alone. And that's so beautiful. And Miranda, the reason why I called you as one of the first people ever, back then known as Green Roomers, to be a part of this is because you impressed me without saying a word. When I watched you years ago in the city, in Manhattan, when I watched you years ago express why you do what you do and why you want to learn, it made me realize that I need to go back to that. I need to go back to the whys. Why am I doing this? And the best compliment I can give you is that you stay consistently kind because you care about people. You care about people that you don't even know. You care about strangers that may or may not become friend one day. Yes, friend. That's a good word. It's a powerful word. There is nothing wrong with a storyteller that says, I don't know Shakespeare. But there's everything right with a storyteller that says, I do want to know about Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Or I do want to know about some of the works. I want to know about Whitman, the poet. I want to know about things that I'm not privy to. Because the open mind is the successful person. You have taught me a lot about a lot. You've taught me about prioritizing mental health. Taught me a lot about being kind to those around you and doing for them as they would do for you. You've taught me about how to prioritize what is important in life. People you love. People in your bubble. So guys, this wasn't planned and this wasn't meant to take a spotlight. This is meant to put the spotlight on 3 people here who deserve to hear it. We know that Bruce and Dakin are fantastic storytellers, legends, professors, teachers, scholars. That all hollers. But I want to tell you that they're also friends. But they, if they were here right now, this moment, at this very second, 10:38 p.m. Eastern time, they would concur. Because to watch these 3 here on screen is to appreciate what they provide all of you. They're not sitting back there waiting for their moments. They're sitting back there enjoying other people's moments. That's storytelling to me. That's friendship to me.
Thank you, Avi. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. This wouldn't be possible without you. I mean, you're not only an amazing human being, you're a great storyteller as well. I mean, you put this all together for everyone to see. Beautiful storytelling and conversations and topics. I mean, nobody can do what you do. and the games also. Where are thou? Oh my God, where thou at? Sorry, where thou at? I love that so much.
Did you enjoy that one tonight, Miranda?
Yes, yeah, it was genius. I loved it.
A little bit different from our normal games.
Genius. I was saying that it kind of sounds like Shakespeare's in Brooklyn. Where thou at?
Where thou at?
I'd probably love to be in Brooklyn. I'm sure you can find something to write about.
Thank you, Power Store. Giselle, Howard, and Miranda, you are amazing.
Oh, thank you,
You're
Power Store.
amazing, Power Store. You're amazing.
Yes, you are. You definitely are.
Power Store helps us a lot behind the scenes. Oh, and Gus, 3 very well-deserved people. Greatness on my screen. Thank you, Gus.
You too, Gus.
Eagle John, I'm looking at 4 people. Where's that avatar?
Exactly.
We are fortunate to have entertaining us and giving their all each and every week. God bless you all. Thank you.
God bless you.
Appreciate that.
God bless you.
Yeah. No, we can't do this without you in the comments.
Thanks,
Al.
Al.
You are the engine that makes this thing go, and we need you here every week, commenting live, liking, subscribing, sharing all of the videos, all of the comments, all of the content. But those live comments help the algorithm so much. Oh, Gus, Giselle has
Definitely, Gus.
gives so much to TKN and to us all. Thank you, Gus.
Yes.
I was so excited when Miranda came back. When she was gone, there was a void without her. And now that she's back again, our screens matters. You are a joy delighting our screens. Thank you, Gus.
Thanks, Gus.
You've been here forever. We love you.
Yes, and thanks to all the other comments coming in. D-Man, Curiosity Keeps It Going. Matt Christie, TKN equals family. Yeah, thank you all, Lester.
Bobby, you have a group of awesome green rumors indeed. Thank you.
Lester.
Thank you, Lester.
What was your writing pad?
Yes, and
Thank
Chad.
you, Chad.
Thank
Chad is here as well. The wall is your writing pad. The wall is. There's a lot of great ideas you can get by staring at a wall. Miranda, Howard, have you ever stared at a wall? Is that the equivalent of the best ideas coming to you at 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, I know Howard well. He'd rather stare at this comment, but so would I. Why not?
Yes.
Good.
Go ahead,
I've been a Howard believer from day one. My intuition is always on point, and I am a believer. Guys, thank you so much, brother.
I'm a believer.
Giselle, you asked Miranda an awesome question.
No, that's to both of you.
Have you ever stared at a wall?
Yeah.
At 2 a.m.
How do your creative ideas come? Are you staring at that wall? Are you the type that they just come into your head at 2 o'clock in the morning? Faded Fishing TV, Dakota, you are also amazing and deserve the world. Always be yourself because you are all perfect. Thank you.
Thanks
for being here tonight. Thanks for being back. We're glad you're back too.
Hell yeah. Very
Howard,
good.
go ahead.
And Avi, I'm not forgetting you. You are the Raiden to this
Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you control. Love it. Love it.
Hey, look, only at TKN do you get Richard III and Mortal Kombat mentioned in the same episode.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, only here. A great question you asked. You know, wall, maybe for me it's part of a wall, and then maybe sometimes music. I don't know. Yeah. Giselle, how about for you?
I like to write. Free writing, free association is always a good point. When I'm traveling, staring out the window of an airplane or a car usually springs to mind some thoughts, and I'll try to write them down as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Allison. So glad to see you right on the show tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Allison, and thanks for being here too. We're glad you're here. So, yeah, I enjoy staring out of windows, looking at the scenery, seeing how it's different, especially if it's a place you go to frequently and you can see what's still the same, what's changed, how that makes you feel. Are there certain things you're looking for to know that you're in the right place? Allison, yes, the show is so inspiring. Thank you. Yes, and this was a super inspiring night. Totally not done with topic one yet, and there was this amazing conversation in between it. But if we want to talk about inspiring,
are we voting now? Are they voting for Howard?
Howard has just tied Bruce Davison. No, I'm kidding.
Voting for Howard? Go Howard.
Yeah. Voting for this, man. Speaking of voting,
Lord.
Bill has his back to.
I mean, it's a good question. It's a good question. It's a really good question that Chad is posing here. It's a really good question.
His back to a wall against Miranda.
Meaning back against the wall, like he's down
Yeah.
3-0. Is this it for Phil? Is what he's at? Is it? Is it all?
Miranda, go ahead and explain that one.
I'll never say someone's not a good competitor because then me beating him would mean nothing because he is a good competitor. However, he should have his back against the wall because I am going to beat him. And yeah, you got to watch your back, Phil. So,
are you going to defeat him in the next match?
I hope so, but I mean, he's saying he has an ace up his sleeve. I mean, I'm willing to beat the ace. I'm ready to beat that ace.
You're leading with confidence, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm ready to beat the ace, but
are you leading with confidence?
I'm a little nervous about the ace, honestly.
Are you leading with confidence?
Yes, confidence.
So we'll ask you again to be decisive. Are you winning your next match?
Yes. There you go.
We want to know. This is a celebrity tournament. We need to know, right?
There is an ace, but I'm gonna beat the ace.
Yeah.
So guys,
there you go.
Guys and gals and pals, the only thing that beats an ace is a joker. So we will see if Miranda's jokers run wild the next match. Eagle John, at some point, I'd love to see Celebrity Roast of Bobby Klein to be a monumental show.
That would be amazing.
Don't encourage Stevie Ray, Mark Henry, and Jim McMahon, and all the other guys who would love that. Don't encourage them.
Stevie would be first to sign up.
Oh no, we can definitely get to that Rolodex now, and everybody will be here immediately. Oh, Allison, love what Giselle just said. I can relate. Going to a place and seeing how it's changed, and also how it makes you feel. Love how the show makes me think and feel. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah. It's been such an amazing staple of the show. We love your hashtags. Hashtag Allison Rocks. Hashtag.
Yeah.
So we always keep it coming.
D 33. I've been bombarding the comments with history stuff. There is no mystery to your history, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, he's a very loves 19th century, especially French history. He's very up on all things Napoleon and the French Revolution and all of the French wars. Very knowledgeable. I knew this episode was going to be right up his alley.
You know what I want to do, Giselle? Guys, for watching who aren't familiar with, you can't be familiar with every single match in the TKN Celebrity Tournament. There's so many. But we do have Phil and Miranda coming up. They're involved. What you saw here on Saturday night, it's going to be their floor as well. They're involved in a best of 7 series. What we saw tonight, it was one-off. Every Saturday night is a one-off. But the TKN hosts who are facing each other, for the most part, they have one and dones. But this is a best of 7. Miranda's leading 3-0. A very brief 30-second solo from Miranda to respond to this comment from Phil any way she'd like. Phil says he's far from done. Let's see what Miranda has to say to that.
Oh my gosh. Phil, I'm in the middle of a very, great conversation right now, and leave it to you to come up with this kind of comment. I mean, this is so outrageous to me. You're far from done. Okay, great. I acknowledge you have the ace, whatever. Great. Use that. I'm still going to beat the ace. I don't care what you have coming for me. I am going to be knocking it out of the park. Okay? So you can try all you want, but you better have your back against the wall because I am going to come for you. So watch that back, Phil. Watch it.
Oh, shots fired, Phil. Man.
Woo!
Woo!
Adolfo, thank you. Thank you, Adolfo.
Woo!
Thank you, Adolfo.
Oh, thank you, Adolfo.
I got my blood boiling.
Yeah,
Just
no,
now.
I could tell, guys and gals. Look, even when we're talking to all of you, can see Miranda's still flustered. This shows you how intense this is between she and Phil. There's no doubt about that. A lot on the line here. Guys, what I want to do at 2 hours and 48 minutes, I want to tell you all that on Wednesday night, we're to talk more about this episode. As a matter of fact, putting my thinking cap on, Team Challenge this Wednesday, set to have a match. You'll see it in the outro. So it's been booked. It's official.
Ooh.
But there's a chance I may scrap it. There's a chance I may actually have a workshop here on Wednesday, guys. We may have an actual live workshop this Wednesday night.
Oh, freaking.
Yeah. We're going to workshop. We'll talk Bard. Howard's got a lot to say. Giselle's got a lot to say.
Hell yeah.
Giselle's got a lot that she wants to listen to. Howard's got a lot that he wants to listen to. I have a lot I want to listen to. Love to learn, guys and gals. It's what we earn. Of course.
Are we going to see their finale?
You know what, guys? We might see their finale. There is a request I have from a TKN host. I won't name who this host is. That does have a bit of an issue about what happened a couple of Wednesdays ago to them. I won't mention who that is. And maybe perhaps their participation in a couple of weeks might throw a monkey wrench into these plans. We'll see that. Don't know who that is. I kind of do, but I won't tell you. Now, guys, again, that's Wednesday's Black Box, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. More on this match. I believe we will unpack that. Will there be a Giselle Howard finale this Wednesday? Maybe we'll go with that as well. I don't know. But I do know this. If it is a Giselle Howard finale, and for those who are scratching their heads going, what are you talking about? You got to watch Wednesday's show. There's a separate tournament going on Wednesday. I called it the 5-Pack Challenge. Our great TKN hosts, Joe Rositano, Miranda, Giselle, Howard Collado, and Phil Justin are all a part of it. It's now down to Howard and Giselle. If I run this final, it may not be the final after all. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe perhaps the following week I might shed some light on that. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Guys, again, 2 hours and 48 minutes. I want to bring in some of our TKN hosts. I just brought them up right now. They're backstage. Guys and gals, this is the host of the voiceover, the man who has been known as the host of the Black Box. And again, more and more and more regarding Joe Rositano's matchup in this tournament featuring myself and Megan and Hauser. He and Hauser have, there's no love lost between them. We know that. His name is Joe Rositano. Joe, cannot wait to see what you have to say to Hauser. He's going to be here this Wednesday. You called him out last Wednesday. He's going to be,
he needs to be
in attendance. Finally, he needs
There's
to be, right?
There's no he will be. There's he needs to be. Something you need to call out, something that I appreciate about Howard and Giselle is that you do. Let's keep that going.
Yeah, we will. But I don't want to shortchange the masses. Joe, he delivered a message to Hauser. That's great. But again,
yes,
it's beyond winning a tournament match with Hauser. This does go deep. This might actually go a little bit deeper than deep. This might be something that, dare I say, is akin to two long-lost brothers at odds with each other. Maybe a little man in the iron mask. I don't know. But there is a lot here that we're going to unpack between Joe and Hauser. Probably much more than even they can ever expect. Joe and Hauser this Wednesday night on the Black Box this Wednesday night. And guys and gals and pals, I know he's not in this country right now. It seems to take great pride in showing Howard and the world that he's no longer in the U.S. right now. We're talking about JW. Still to come is JW and Howard Collado. The finale of this incredible story that I wish was just that, a story, but it's not. It's not words in a page. This is as real gets. Two brothers who I've known for a long time. It started out with something called the Battle of the Foundation. And now Howard and JW have a match with a lot of stipulations that are attached to them. Their match will take place before the aforementioned match between myself, Joe, and Hauser. Should Hauser win, I'm not in that match anymore because that's part of the stipulation. It will be Joe, Megan, and Hauser. We'll see how that goes down. Hauser, guys and gals and pals, will be facing Joe this Wednesday. And Howard, if you have a message you want to send JW, make it brief.
JW, I know you're away at this moment, but when you come back, I'm still going to be here. Don't think for a second I forgot what you did on my birthday. I still remember that. On my birthday. All right, when the man up there, Abby Klein, opened his heart and was giving me a celebration, I remember what you did in that moment. I haven't forgotten. So I'll see you when you come back, brother.
And the backdrop of all this, guys, is the TKN Celebrity Tournament. You might think that Greece is our piece and the money's the honey, but there's more to it than that, guys and gals and pals. The real prize is being able to say that you met so many people in this journey along the way. You were able to have conversations with so many people. If you win this whole thing, you will have had many conversations with many of folk. And again, this is a place where strangers leave as friends. Hopefully the TKN hosts are reminded of that it's much more than the riches and the spoils. But we'll see. Guys and gals and pals. But then again, we don't like the surface. We like to go underneath, right? Where it gets damp and wet. Guys and gals and pals, I know that Giselle, of course, is already in round number 3, but so is Pete. The two of you have been exchanging a lot of barbs and messages, something about a supposed match that never took place. I don't know. Either way, is there a message you want to send? Pete, real quick.
Pete, you seem to have everybody else fooled with this peaceful act. But you like to avoid my questions about time and place. don't think that's very peaceful of you. In fact, I think that's the exact opposite.
Interesting sentiments there from Giselle. Guys, so we've set it up for you. I want to bring in a man over here who's part of the green room as well, guys and gals. We are now calling it TKN Saturday Nights. I corrected myself. I stand corrected. Love making mistakes, guys and gals, because that's how we make discoveries, which means that there are no mistakes. But this is a man. There's definitely no mistake about it. He rocks the house every time he comes here. He makes me think twice about my wardrobe lately. He makes me think twice about what I'm going to bust out when I'm on screen because he's always fashionably appropriate. Mr. Dakota, welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Avi, as always. What a wonderful intro. I don't know what you're talking about, though. You know, those suits you're wearing looks a lot better than my little
shirt.
Hey,
I speak the truth, my friend, because I'll tell you what, you bring a lot of color, but you bring a ton of honesty. For those that aren't familiar with Dakota, this man leads with passion. There's never a time where his smile doesn't make me smile internally. He's got a lot to say, which is why starting next Saturday night, guys and gals, a very awesome segment that only he and I know about called Straight from the South, guys and gals. Now, what is that going to entail? I'll tell you what it's going to entail. There are plenty of luminaries who eventually, not right away, but eventually who hail from the South, want to have a conversation about what the South means to them. They want to talk about their upbringing. They want to talk about their journeys in life. We're talking athletes. We're talking film and TV folk, comedians across the board. They're going to have a conversation with Dakota eventually. But first, Dakota and I are going to really talk about what the South means to him growing up in his particular area of the South. And then, of course, we will have our first official guest in a couple of weeks. The one and only Kelly White will be on with Dakota, and he'll be talking about his stories from the South. Are you excited about that segment, Dakota?
Oh, so excited. I mean, the whole segment, I am just truly amazed and just so appreciative to have a chance to do something like that. And just, you know, what it's like as a wannabe storyteller growing up in the South, Alabama, and just what I went through, the choices I made, the decisions that I went through, and the everything after that, and just where it led me, and on top of all of that, of course, just right off the bat, throwing Kelly White with me. I mean, what a legend right there. I watched this guy when I just started watching TKN. I mean, this just a true legend. And oh man, I'm going to be starstruck beside him on the camera. It's going to be a lot of fun. But it's going to be down to earth. It's going to be really, really touching. We're going to, you know, just like this show is, Avi always brings the heart and the soul out of people, and it just inspires me, amazes me every time I see it. And I want to keep that going.
I appreciate it. I'm not going to take the credit for that because I surround myself with people who feel, and to me, that's what's real. Now, guys and gals and pals, I want to say this. Try not to steal anyone's energy away from them if you feel like you're having a bad day and they're having a good one. A lot of times we say to ourselves, man, oh man, why are they so up? You know what? It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to climb those heights, right? Whatever it is that gets you up, it's okay to stay there. It's okay to appreciate the view. But take someone with you. Remind them that they're not going to be down if they have a helping hand that helps them up. Help people. That being said, before we go to outro, I'm going to do something fun over here because I want to hear Miranda and Giselle and Joe and Howard and Dakota. Don't have time for a game per se, but if there was one question that each of you would like to ask each other, not me, that each of you would like to ask each other, what question would that be? I'm going to throw Howard into the fire first. Howard, anyone here on screen? It could be Joe, it could be Dakota, it could be Miranda, it could be Giselle. Do you have a question for any of these lovely four human beings?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask this before. Just a question to Giselle. When was the specific moment that you just knew that you fell in love with Shakespeare? You were like, oh my God, where has this been all my life?
I had an early introduction in my 7th and 8th grade English teacher instilled a love of reading. We often had English and reading back to back with her, and we would start every class with 20 minutes of free reading. Let me tell you how often that got extended to at least one entire period. And sometimes we could read the assigned books, and then we had a whole library in the classroom or a table of books to choose from. But we were assigned an entire section. We had at first a little bit of words escaping.
A bit of words.
Is it an object?
Blurb, not blurb. I don't know. It went away. It escaped my head.
You know what? I'm going to mute you. Don't give me a word. Give me an action. Go ahead. Give me an action. And we'll know what the word means. What is it, guys? What is she trying to express?
A fan. There was a loud fan that helped block out the rest
Something
of the
smelled
world.
bad.
Commit to the action.
Do the action again?
Commit to the action.
There was laughter. There was humor.
Flatulence.
Yeah, something smelled terrible.
Gas.
So
much gas.
So of course, the second you muted me and I threw my hands up in exasperation, the word came back because exactly what Bruce and Dakin were talking about. You move when you're learning a monologue. It helps. Trust me, it helps. Do the laundry.
It does. When you're breaking anything down, you can't be stationary. I mean, you can be. It's not going to really allow you to understand you can make discoveries through movement much more than through words. That's what I always
synopsis.
And if you want to talk about subtext, it's not always text. The subtext isn't always the text. So ask a question to anybody you like. It could be Joe or Howard or Dakota. Miranda, go ahead.
Sure. But yes, I was introduced via these synopses and we saw them. I always recommend watching the plays as well. Find one of the film versions. You can't get to a theater. It helps. And read along while you're watching. It helps.
Okay.
Dakota, what drew you to storytelling?
Oh, what a great question. Yes. Well, I mean, ever since I was little, I always loved the movies. It's just you could go anywhere. You could be anything. It's a little bit of imagination, and just to see these just awesome storytellers all the way from when I was a kid just get on screen or get on stage and just act so natural and just could be anything they wanted to be and just brought that to life is always just really, really got to me. I love it so much. And on top of that, just my absolute want to do the only thing that my grandfather told me to do, and is to leave this place a little better than when I found it. And I would love to have that opportunity to spread the good message, a great message, a nice message, a warming message.
Can you tell us that kind man's name, your grandfather's name?
Yeah, absolutely. His name was Donald.
Well, Donald loves you. Is he still here with us, Donald, or no?
He's not. No, he's not.
Okay, well, he's definitely happy. You definitely left us all happy. You left a memory that was. I brought this up to you quite some time ago, one-on-one. You leave an impact, a positive one. There's no doubt about that. There's such a truth.
Thank you.
About innocence and such an innocence regarding truth, isn't there? I mean, there's such an innocence when you speak the truth. And I like that. That to me, there's a purity to being wholehearted. Dakota, any message you'd like to ask or a question you'd like to ask to Joe, Howard, or Miranda?
Oh, yeah, I've got one for Howard.
All right.
And it's not how much hair gel do you use. It
is a lot. Just kidding.
Ever since I've started working and just being a part of everything that TKN is and was then, Avi and everybody here and Howard have just been so opening, so welcoming. Just like you would think that they knew me my whole life when a lot of other people would turn me away, and they took me in, and I appreciate that a lot. But Howard, being that good person that you are, and just such an amazing, wholehearted person, what keeps you going on your worst days?
Can My answer? No, go ahead.
I'm not gonna say this just because he's here, but there's two people who keep me going on my worst days, and I'm not just saying this because we're live. I'm not just saying this because they're here. It's Giselle and it's Avi. There's a lot of nights, a lot of moments where I just I get down on myself. I fall into a habit. I fuck up on something, and they are always rigorously honest with me. They don't hold back in a loving way, and that's you need that in your life. It's in the moments it could be tough, but you put the freaking ego aside and you just listen because it's two people who love you or are talking to you. Yeah, I mean that's it. And then just thinking of a second, my mom. My mom and what she sacrificed in her life. For me to have opportunities. So that also keeps me going as well. So
I thought it was JW.
No, that keeps him awake at night.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's true. So that's Howard. Of course, Howard asked Giselle a question. Ryan, anything you'd like to ask Joe?
Well, Joe, I wanted to actually mention the second topic that we heard tonight about the sonnets and the way that Bruce and Dakin had spoke about them and then the stories that they told regarding the sonnets, because I thought that Dakin told such a beautiful, well, not told a story because it's true, but he gave us a piece of his heart when he was telling us about his son and his autism, and I think he did the best that he could for his son. I mean, that's a really tough situation for anybody to be in, especially a parent. And I'm so sorry for his loss. That was just amazing. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on the second topic.
Honestly, that's what I would talk about, was the fact that Dakin's something I love about our competitors is that when we go past the line of discussing the bard, when we go past the line of discussing just the topic itself, we get into personal stories that reflect how people relate to the subjects that we're getting into. And the fact that he went into depth of what that's like being a parent with someone who has a higher level of someone on the spectrum, and the kind of learning process. What I liked about tonight is that a lot of it for us was we were learning about Shakespeare, but then we were also learning about key points in life where Shakespeare and the actual things that we go through have a hand-in-hand impact on us. And it made me have a deeper appreciation for how their dedication to the craft and their dedication to their family was of equal measure.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that was my feelings on topic 2 specifically.
It's really nice.
Beautiful. You know what's really interesting about the bard is I never thought I would be teaching it, because you hear Shakespeare and you feel intimidated. Initially, you do. When you start realizing that if you teach Shakespeare, then you're teaching people about humanity for all it is. And if you lead with honesty, then teaching Shakespeare and learning about the bard is living as honestly as you teach. That's the beauty of Shakespeare, is that the flaws are emphasized. You can't run away from any flaws. Any character flaws that we see in all of his plays are under a microscope. And that is relatable because all of us are extremely flawed, with the exception of Dakota. Every single one of us are extremely flawed human beings.
Could not be fair. That's so wrong.
That's relatable. And I like intrigue. I like mystery. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but his likeness remains a mystery. People always talk about his image, but it's been reproduced time and again and again and again. We don't know what he actually looked like because all the printed portraits that accompanied his work date back to his lifetime. Right. So the image that most people are familiar with are I think it was in 1621, 22, 23. I can't recall the year, but that was the first time we actually saw Shakespeare. First folio. That was the first time we saw him. So there's really no way to tell how he looked. But what I love most about William is his ability to speak his mind about all the many flaws that we wrestle with every day. And the inner thoughts, which are also inner monologues, the inner thoughts and the soliloquies and the monologues are meant to showcase our vulnerability. Yes. Because I don't feel as if there's any one moment in time that I can pick out now, but every time I needed to figure things out, the one thing I needed to do was muster up the courage to allow the words in my heart to speak my truth. So we challenge ourselves to do that as communicators. It doesn't mean we always have to deliver the greatest speech in the world. It doesn't mean that we have to, that would be false. That would not be honest. That would not be something I consider sincere. But in order to challenge ourselves, we must read the work and accept it for what it is without altering it. As a writer, I am always told, rewrite this, rewrite that. You don't have to touch one single word when it comes to Shakespeare. Not one. It's all there. It is all there for you to use. It is all there for you to understand. It's written for the storyteller. It's written for the human being. It's written for anybody who chooses to read it. And I like that it's not meant to be easy, because nothing is. So for those wondering, or for those saying, Jacques, if you hear this, the storytellers that listen to sports and listen to pro wrestling, they did so with an open heart and an openness. You can do the same. I know you tried, but you are not lacking anything. It isn't your intellect that's getting in the way, because you're one of the smartest people I know. You've taught me a lot. What it really is the willingness to feel uncomfortable. If you're willing to feel uncomfortable and make that your learning lesson of the day, you've already won. You've already won. Guys and gals and pals, thank you again for being here tonight. Joe, do you have a final question you want to ask anybody?
Yes, I wanted to ask Miranda. I had something to ask Miranda, and that was, with tonight's show and going beyond just how Shakespeare attributed to life, do you think that because of his work and how he hits on so many personal notes, and how Avi brought up that instead of changing the word, something that I've brought up actually today in comments for posts, do you think that that feeling still translates today and that it's still relevant to our culture now?
Well, I think that a lot of, you mean what Shakespeare's words, right? Because I think a lot of them are relevant, even though it has been changed and like morphed into more, I guess, modern adaptations. I was just talking about this earlier. The movie was a modern adaptation of Othello, but the story itself is very relevant, right? A lot of people are succumbed by jealousy, and that story was just really powerful to me, how jealousy can make someone do crazy things, and how we can internalize that, and then when we internalize that, it makes us do crazy things, because then we think that we're crazy. It's a whole like amazing dynamic to me. And a lot of his other ones too, Romeo and Juliet. I mean, there's so many things that we can learn from Shakespeare's writing that are relevant today. A lot of love stories, betrayal, a lot of things are relevant. And I don't think that the words should be changed. I mean, I love the modern adaptations. Like I said, it's just easier, I guess, when you're just trying to watch something or whatever. But if you actually read it, like Avi said, everything is there for you. And it's good to challenge yourself sometimes. And it's art. I mean, art shouldn't be changed. If you really want to absorb it the way it's supposed to be absorbed, then you digest it in its natural state, if that makes sense.
It does. It does.
That makes sense. That's good. Thank you.
A lot of times when people say, well, is it stuffy? Is it pretentious? Well, here's what I ask. Are people that you assumed to be pretentious and stuffy always pretentious and stuffy? No. If you lead that way, you're going to lose out on making a lot of friends, and that's the same. That's the same thing I want to say about Shakespeare. If you want to learn language, Shakespeare is for you. Linguistics, if we could get into that one day, I would love to break that down. So if you think that's something that you are unfamiliar with, if you think that's something from, I'm not going to say which one it is. I'll let our audience try to figure this out. Old English, Middle English. I'm not going to go there. But I will ask you this. If you're unfamiliar with something and you feel as if it's above you, or you feel as if the storytellers are speaking a language that sounds so very noble and so very regal, what I'll say is this. They may feel the same way you do about the Bard. They feel the same way you do about Shakespeare. They may want to honor someone that they're intimidated by, and they may not feel worthy. So it's our job as audience members to make sure that storytellers do feel worthy of the stories they tell, because they need your feedback. They rely on your feedback. Everyone on screen here relies on your feedback. Your feedback, the feedback you provide everybody here on screen, keeps them going, keeps me going. There's no facade. We're vulnerable. We turn off those lights, and sometimes we overthink and we ask the whys. And thankfully, you guys and gals and pals can give us the feedback we deserve, because there is no place that I've seen in internet land that allows you to tell us what you like, what you don't like, in a very intelligent, respectful fashion. We want your feedback. We welcome your feedback. The storyteller needs your feedback. We never got it from the casting director, so we want it from you. It's very important to get it.
Yes.
That being said, guys and gals and pals, let's bring Howard Collado back in. What time is it right now, guys and gals? Because wait, hold on.
11:16.
No, I mean, it's time for something. No, Howard, hold on a second. You know, look at the look on his face. Look how pissed off this guy looks. You know, you're on screen here, Phil. I love you to death. I've known you for 2 decades. You're familiar with the Bard. I know that as well, but I didn't bring you in earlier because all I see you backstage doing is ranting and raving. I can't decipher what you're saying. I can't hear what you're saying, but I can read lips rather well. I could read the name Miranda leaving your lips as you're screaming, foaming at the mouth. So you want your piece, you want your moment, go ahead, take the moment. Then it's outro time, Phil.
Okay, I'm going to keep it calm and peaceful for the moment. Miranda, you're sitting in the catbird seat, as they used to say, but don't get too comfortable, because I'm coming for you. I'm going to knock you off that perch, and I'm going to move on. Deal with that. That's about as peaceful as I can be right now. I am irked to the max. Deal with it.
Well, Phil, let me tell you this. There's no shame in taking a bow, and there's no shame when anticipating a curtain call unless it's the final one. And you, my friend, might be experiencing just that, unless in a few weeks' time, and I'll announce the date and the whens and the wheres this Wednesday, you can rise to the occasion. We'll see if that occurs. Guys and gals and pals, it is what time, Howard? Drum roll!
Outro time!
What do we have next Saturday night? You'll find out. Check out the nonverbals from this cast, who are going to show you, without saying a word, how excited they are about seeing what they're about to see on screen. Next Saturday night, guys and gals, we got a big one. The final lap of round number 2 is upon us. So with that, the question is, who is next?
Obsession's going to be talent every time. You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed? Is it all you ever think about?
General Patton actually is a guy that I've always been fascinated by because of a couple of things. First of all, the leader that he was. He wasn't a general that sat and barked out orders and sent people out. He was out on the front line leading people. Had we not had somebody like him who was as prepared and thought out and was as ready in World War II, this whole entire our country might be different.
I had a bad attitude. I had some bad things, didn't go my way. When I got kicked off the team, it was not about me. Everybody else did it to me. I was pointing fingers, casting blame, making excuses. That's why I know what the toxic blender is like. It's a toxic blender of disaster that has garnered no success from anybody ever, because I lived in it. And then once I realized, okay, I'm responsible to get myself out of that blender. I got myself in this, and therefore I got to get myself out. And I made that 180. Then I realized what ownership is about.
Having no limitations, but also knowing what those boundaries are in a way, I think is very important, because I think if you set a goal of something that is so extremely maybe out of your realm and kind of like it's going to take more work and effort to like achieve that, and it's almost like not accessible, I think that's also setting yourself up for failure in a way. I became very passionate for helping people. I had like an adult client that had aphasia. She had like a stroke, so I really got close with her. I was doing in college when I needed like the hours to get my bachelor's degree. So I was doing that, but I was also just like hustling. I had like 3 jobs. I was working at my dad's deli, working at my ex's restaurant, and then like babysitting. Like I've always just been a hustler, and kind of, I didn't know exactly where I would end up or what I really wanted to do, but I knew I've always knew I was a hard worker, and I knew that with hard work and finding my way and kind of like figuring it out, eventually I'd find something that I really love.
What did I do or actually critically think about to better myself? It's actually literally critical thinking and going back to college. So at that time, just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I just enrolled back in summer school, started learning, started figuring out what I wanted to do, which led me to go in sports education. And also started being around basketball, which kind of led me to where I am right now, honestly.
I'm just going to state the point. I'm going to answer the question as simply as I can. The simple things become complex when you're going for perfection. The complex things become even more complex. Everything becomes harder when you're going to achieve perfection. I mean, it's a simple question with a simple answer.
Between emotion and response falls the raven. History is a pattern of timeless moments. And Tommy Dreamer, you know full well that ours are intertwined forever.
So if we send out love, the universe looks for a match to that love and it sends it back to us. If we send out fear and judgment, the universe looks for a match to that and sends it back to us. And we keep repeating the patterns and the challenges in our life. When we love ourselves, we choose the highest love for everything and everybody else in our lives.
A true horror film really develops its characters, really has a storyline, not, hi, here's the 6 characters, watch how gruesomely we can kill them all off, So I don't think you have a lot of true horror films.
being mindful, I think, is really important. And what you were just saying, Avi, perspective. I do a lot of public speaking, and perspective is one of those things that I think is huge, because if we keep things in a good perspective, it can help lead us in a positive direction.
Always been an entrepreneur, and I guess part of the reason I've been an entrepreneur is because I'm very comfortable taking risks. Sometimes over the course of my life I've become too comfortable taking risks, but I was always able to outperform bad choices.
It's going to provide a different opportunity to exploit the concept of kayfabe, because you're going to allow the audience to think one thing and be absolutely sure they know what's going to happen because they're engaged in the process. Going back to why I think this is a good idea. And that will only provide more opportunity to shift gears and to exploit the fact that the audience is 100% confident they know what's going to happen because they were exposed to it, and surprise them with something completely different. I think it's going to enhance opportunities to take advantage of the concept of kayfabe that don't currently exist.
I'll tell you what the scariest thing for me was: getting married.
Was it?
Yeah. Who you marry determines so much about your life. If you marry the wrong person, that affects everything. The job, the life, the money, the everything. So the scariest thing is who you marry, getting married.
And you don't have a crystal ball either, so you don't know how it's going to end up. That's true. That's very true. Wow.
What would you do if your husband or your lover was keeping a secret from you? Now, would you want to know no matter what the secret was? Yes or no? Some things are better left that you don't know, I think. Well, today, lovers are going to reveal their secrets to their partners for the very first time. Secrets that I can assure you will most definitely change their relationships forever. Some for the better, some for the worse.
Jerry Jones did a national way of getting to the press. He went to the press and established a trademark name, and then built his team and put his team in every market by using his money.
But in Jimmy Carter's, in his 4 years of being the president, I don't think this situation is what got him ousted for Reagan. Now, you in turn said Reagan came in and saved the day. If people really know the history about the whole thing with Iran, when the Shah, people don't know that the Americans, the United States of America, is the one that put the Shah in power.
I'm grateful for life too, and health. Being able to get out and see all these guys. You see wrestlers dying around us every day. Yeah. And one day I'm gonna get my turn, but people need to know that I was grateful for my life.
And anything that fucks with my thought, I don't like to be around. I've been like that since I was a little kid. And you know, that I like to get in my own space. Even my brothers and sisters just always say, he gets in his own space and he likes to stay in his own space. And I had friends when I was a little kid, you know what I'm saying? And like to hang out with them, but when I'm in my own space, I can think about the things I want to think about. And there wasn't as conventional as what everybody else is thinking about.
my dad to tell me, oh yeah, you'd read the Stars and Stripes how Patton was knocking out Panzer tanks, shooting his pearl-handled 45s, right? My old man goes, those generals, they wouldn't even come up to the front until it was so safe a mosquito couldn't bite them. No, that was my dad's quote.
What made me governor was I was doing statewide talk radio, and in the 90s, economic times were great. Everybody was making huge money. Well, the state of Minnesota had, I think, a $1 or $2 billion budget surplus. In other words, they set a budget, and because taxes and the economy was so powerful, they brought in $2 billion more than they needed. Well, you know what they did with it? Spent it. What right do they have to spend it? Because they overtaxed us? So I said, maybe I ought to run for governor. Oh my God, it took off like wildfire.
Final lap, guys, final lap.
My whole basketball journey from like elementary school up to like high school, because I was a smaller player and playing basketball. So most of the time I wasn't really getting picked. I did get overlooked a lot, you know, and that really just taught me just to keep my head down and keep pushing, you know, keep pushing towards the goal. Even though I wasn't seeing the results right then and there, they were going to come.
He has just loved Tom Petty, and I know when he was passing, we were playing Tom Petty, me and my sister, while we were laying next to him, and it's the song Don't Back Down. And it's just so, I mean, he was just such a fighter through it all, and he never wanted to see us to see him in pain. But I just feel like my mom was like she was just like so hands-on, and like I really want to just kind of mimic how she raised us. Yeah. Just like great family values, just like always around, just you know, just whatever we needed. So yeah, I don't know. I just hope that once the baby comes, I'm just like, okay, like mom mode kicks in, and I know exactly what to do. But I feel like you don't really know. You don't really know. You're just like hoping for the best.
I also, when I started school, I stuttered. So I was in speech therapy and all that. And, you know, that's the reason why the dance and acrobatics and diving, I could show people that yes. That's how I communicated. I didn't use words growing up. I didn't use a whole lot of words. I didn't know that I stuttered until I started school.
My thought was, if I was HIV positive, then I was going to do the honorable thing and go. I was training in Florida, and so I was going to go back to my home in California and lock myself in my house and wait to die, because that's what we thought of HIV. It was a death sentence, and you know, doctors were saying get your affairs in order and all that. But the doctor that I was seeing in Florida, my cousin, he said that the healthiest thing for you is to continue training.
My internal rule that I try to live by every single day is just being true to who I am, regardless of what's going on around me, what situations you may encounter. I think when I was younger, I was such a people pleaser that I always wanted to make everybody happy.
Growing up, I grew up with two older brothers. I have a younger brother, and it was my mom. My dad wasn't in the picture. And so it seemed like it was me and my mom against the world, right? Like even my brothers at times, because we were the only females in the house. And I just remembered my mom just instilling things into me, like being good isn't enough. Like you have to be the best. Whatever it is you do.
Came off of G.I. Joe, and I thought Vince McMahon he told me, I got this idea, you and Hulk Hogan are going to sell out L.A. Coliseum, come on over to my house. And I figured he's going to make Hulk Hogan the villain. So I'm thinking, G.I. Joe, the real American hero. And I hear this spiel about me being a Rocky sympathizer. And I went, what? And he said, well, you know, it could be a little dangerous. I said, really? A few times when I wasn't around, Gene Okerlund would have like a IB, I think they call it, in his ear, and he'd be doing a promo, and he'd go, Ladies and gentlemen, I just heard Sergeant Slaughter is out behind the building burning the American flag. And I'm watching television or watching it. What did he just say? And it was already, on the show. There's nothing I could do about it. So I had to live with that because everybody actually thought I was out behind the building burning the American flag. So from that point on, I couldn't go anywhere.
Here we go. Show, guys. Be patient. Wait for a week. Stages, guys, for next week. It's a match for the ages. Not many left.
My boy, right Yeah. Finally. Yeah. Oh my God.